Hello there, hello there, hello there, everybody. How the devil are we all? I'm alive, and after the last couple of days, that's a benefit. That's a plus, I think. We'll chalk that one up as a dub. But how are we besides that? Um, Apologies, I wasn't on yesterday. I probably shouldn't have gone to the football. In all honesty, I wasn't feeling great, both in terms of my nerves after my recent uh, trauma, I guess you could call it. Um, what's this? Allow while visiting this site. Yeah. Yes. I probably shouldn't have gone, and then sat on a horrible bus going over. Fuck. I mean, the buses are awful and expensive and shit and dirty. Ugh. And then you sit on a cold plastic seat for several hours, and then you get the bus back, and I just felt fucking dreadful. So I just thought, actually, you know what I'm going to do? What the Kev needs to do is lie down in a dark room for a long time, and that's what I did, and I feel a bit better now. Anyway, how are we all, everybody? Are we good? Starmer is now defender of the West. Solly, not just defender of the West, leader of the free world. We'll get to it. The dumbest fucking timeline there has ever been. I swear to God. In America, they're like happily dancing to the tune of fascism, and we're over here pretending to not be gobshites. It's brilliant. Honestly, what a time to be alive, people. The history books will write about this, and they will write about how fucking stupid it was. Honest to God. Ridiculous. What did you miss? Well, you missed the greatest mind of our time, Paul Mason. So we'll get to it though. We're going to be on with No Justice, MTG, in just a second. Um, um, to watch some award-winning journalism. But yeah, it actually has been historic. People will write about this. Obviously, we know what happened with Trump and the White House and JD Vance, and you never say sorry. The whingiest cry from history I've ever heard in my life. And then Zelenskyy stopped off in Britain because they were having a little meeting, minus America, to sort things out, and it's all gone a little bit. It's gone a bit weird, really. It's just gone a little bit strange. Oh no. You are demented. Oh, God almighty. What is wrong with you? Phantom. I don't need this. The problem with playing that game is it always gets stuck in your teeth. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna go there. Yeah, we're gonna be on with No Justice hopefully in just a moment. I did not make this. No, but you sent it to me. Don't be like, you can't do that. You can't be like, well, I didn't make the image. So what? You showed us. It's now all in our. It's there now. Ay ay ay. Hello there, Helena. How are you? I'm okay. How are you? Fair enough. Do you need a minute? Okay, good stuff. You literally sound like you've just run to the microphone. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm well. Um,
Better now?
yes, yeah, no, I had a life Well, it wasn't remotely life-threatening, but it felt bad. And then I was in a hospital in a chair. This is the beautiful thing, right? I think I've now been converted to be a Labour voter, and I'll tell you why. You remember under the Tories, if you went to like accident and emergency or something, you'd be lucky to get into the corridor of a ward. I had potentially spinal injuries, and they sat me in a fucking chair in the corner of a ward. So we've gotten better. The NHS is now fixed. You can get into a ward. You still can't get a bed or a GP's appointment for shit, but you can get into a ward technically.
Yeah, like I had a friend who had a broken. I think he'd broken his arm, and I was there with him, and they literally just. If you've got a broken bone, they'll just sit you in the bone area, away from everybody else.
Yeah, no, it was very unpleasant until they gave me. I mean, I don't even know what it was because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't listening to him. But it was. I can understand why people become drug addicts because it was fucking amazing. I don't know what they injected into me, but I literally felt like I was hovering above the ground. It was brilliant.
Yep, I had a very similar experience on like New Year's Eve, like 15 years ago. I had an abscess that required a lot of morphine to be able to get me through it, and the morphine was excellent.
Yeah. So
don't
like,
do drugs, kids.
Don't do drugs, right? I'm not saying do drugs. I'm just saying if you ever get really badly injured, the drugs are a plus. You know.
Exactly, 100% right. There's a silver lining.
Exactly. Yeah. Always look for the positives. You know.
Yep, 100%.
Like the fact that we now live in a country run by the leader of the free world.
Literally, imagine, right? You know, it couldn't get more depressing than Donald Trump's leader of the free world. And yet here we are.
Yes. So, oh God, Paul Mason, who's a man whose travails I've covered on this channel. He is the biggest melter, literally ever, I think. He's decided that because Keir Starmer has hosted a conference, played T-boy to the world's leaders, he's now the leader of the free world.
Love it. And what was crazy as well is that Paul Mason was just like, oh, well, we have to hit XYZ level of military spending now. Sod the fiscal rules. I'm just like, bitch, where were you when the kids were starving?
No, well, that doesn't count. That's fine. Old people can freeze to death. That's when we need fiscal rules, but not for war. Don't be silly. That's the one acceptable opinion across the spectrum, that war is good. Amazing. Exactly. Amazing shit. Tonight he became the leader of the free world. Oh, God. Honestly, I didn't think they were going to top Isn't It Nice, All the Quiet. I didn't think they were going to be able to beat that. But somehow the fucking shitlibs have managed to up their game of pretentious, just mindless, soup-brained shittery.
Yeah, just total fealty to Keir Starmer as a political actor.
Unbelievable.
And again, the only reason that he's in the position that he's in is because he's still wiping Donald Trump's cum off his lips. Like, literally. That's it. Yeah. That's why he's here. He's the mediator between the EU and America, because all the EU leaders were like, no, Trump is a fucking idiot. Why the hell would you take him seriously? And Keir Starmer has spent the entire time, giving him foot massages in the Oval Office.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And of course, the cry that's gone out, well, let's not have a state visit. Let's not do that. But no, he wants to play both Churchill, he wants to be Churchill, but also invite Hitler around for tea. Which is an interesting combination of things to be. Like, I don't quite... He's so pathetic, and I said this was going to be the case, right? He's just going to pretend like the Americans aren't doing what they're doing. He's going to, like, carry on and like, try and play both sides here. He's going to try and stay as an Atlanticist, even though that's literally over now. That doesn't exist. That isn't possible now. But also be like, oh, well, the Europeans, we need to join together. We need a coalition of the willing. Yeah, let's adopt the language of George W. Bush, because that worked out superbly well. Fucking
idiot. The thing is that you say Atlanticism is dead. I'm just like, there's a whole swathe of career politicians whose entire political existence is based upon their perceived Atlanticism. What the fuck are these people going to do? Where are they going to go?
It's their 9/11, yeah. No, absolutely. But I don't really know. I mean, some of them have firmly done their thing, right? So Lindsey Graham, is one of the people you're talking about there, or Marco Rubio, and they've gone, fuck it, a whole lot with Trump, fine. I'm not entirely sure how the anti-Trump Atlanticists in America are going to deal with this. Tony Blair, I presume, is on suicide watch as we speak. I don't know.
I mean, no, he's realised that he can get involved in more war crimes, so he's all up for it.
Actually, yeah, no, that's true. You know, he wouldn't leave this world whilst there are still war crimes unwar crimed. Of course,
exactly.
Not.
You know, no. He can't just do it vicariously through his mini-me, Keir Starmer.
No. But thankfully, whilst he was in Washington, both Keir Starmer and his boss/minion, noted friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Mandelson, went straight from the White House to the offices of Palantir to sell the British Navy, apparently, or something.
Well, literally, it's just like all this fucking Curtis Yarvin shit. It's coming to us through fucking Keir Starmer and Tony Blair. I'm at my wit's end. I really am.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to watch some award-winning journalism from the award-winning journalist Laura Kuenssberg in just a second. But, like, even that's sort of out of date. Like, the things are moving and progressing so weirdly that things have moved on now. And did you see his 4-point plan? Keir Starmer's new 4-point plan?
No.
Oh yeah. Oh god, brilliant. Right. Yes. So they've agreed a 4-point plan, and it's about as Keir Starmer as you can get, because it's so vague that it doesn't mean anything, basically.
Next book.
Yeah. Here we go. Where are we? So, Starmer unveils 4 steps to help Ukraine. The Prime Minister says leaders at the summit agreed a 4-point step. 4 important steps to keep military aid flowing into Ukraine while the war is ongoing.
Hang on, whoa! Before you start that, they're steps now, are they? Right? So not missions or key phrases or principles or milestones. Right? They're steps, are they?
We're now doing steps.
Okay.
We're now doing steps on the mountain of conflict. Yes. To keep military aid flowing into Ukraine while the war is ongoing and increase economic pressure on Russia. That's nebulous as fuck. That doesn't mean a lot. What does that give Ukraine 2 pence and then ask Russia nicely not to do anything? What does that mean?
Which is literally what we were already doing, which was giving them $3 billion a year in perpetuity, plus sanctioning Russia, which we were already doing,
and another $2.6 billion as a loan. Because apparently, when it comes to war, we can just find the money. Did you notice the magic money tree sprouted up again? Always good to see that little minx crop up from time to time.
Fiscal rules only exist if you're a starving child or a freezing pensioner.
True. What the fuck? Why is it updated? And where the fuck is that now gone? Is it on page 3 now? Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, I don't know where that's gone now. Where's my bullet points, motherfucker? I don't know. Hang on a minute. 4-point plan. Give me 4-point plan. There we go. Any lasting peace that must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table for any peace talks. Okay, that's at least a concrete thing. Ukraine has to be there.
But you know, to be fair, it's better than Jan Halper Hayes, right? I always remember I was in that Chipotle when I was watching Question Time.
Yes.
And she was there, just like, yeah, but you can't have a negotiation if Ukraine is at the table. And I was just like, this woman has fucking shit for brains.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
the dumbest person I've ever seen.
It's not a negotiation if only one side is there. That's a monologue. That's not a negotiation.
Genuinely, I said on Twitter that she sounded like she was having her first day of speaking lessons.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Oh, she cropped up again as well in one of these things. She was being interviewed by someone on the BBC and was asked specifically, do you think that it's okay to criticize or to say that someone is bad if they are deliberately bombing babies? Not in reference to Israel, obviously, because that's fine and everyone agrees on that, but specifically with in regard to Putin in Ukraine. And she said, no, I don't think you can say that.
Incredible moment. Just yet another banger from the Trump campaign team.
Amazing stuff. But what does ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security? Because that could mean anything. What, they just get to keep Kiev? That would still technically be sovereign. Again, nebulous, means nothing. In the event of a peace deal, European leaders will aim to deter any future invasion by Russia into Ukraine.
Well, oh, duh. Oh, well, no.
What were they going to do beside that? They were actually going to actively encourage it before this. What do you mean?
And also, that's separate to security, is it? Is that ensuring you? Surely that's just ensuring Ukraine's security.
Steps. You're ignoring the steps, okay?
Okay, right.
There would...
It's so McSweeney coded, right? Imagine
nothing.
The world is like the potential for a giant conflict, and the world's geopolitical stability is hanging by a thread. And we have an empty fucking suit, ham-faced twat Keir Starmer entirely being puppeteered by somebody who you wouldn't want to shake hands with in case his absolute country was catching.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. There will be a coalition of the willing to defend Ukraine and guarantee peace in the country. How is that different than the previous 2 points? That isn't a different step. You don't need to fill a fucking word count. You could just do 2 steps. 2 steps is fine. Just be like, oh, we're going to give them more money and make sure Russia doesn't invade. I mean, it's not really much of a plan, but like at least it makes sense. What you've just gone is repeated thrice. Make sure Ukraine's safe in that.
Yeah, literally. I mean, honestly, I would have had more respect for Starmer if that's what he said.
He'd just come out and be like, no, I'm just going to make sure it's safe in that, you know. Fuck it. Yeah, why not? If Trump can start gabbling on about like you haven't got any cards, I've got all the cards and you haven't got any cards, like a fucking Paul Daniels thing or something. What the fuck are you talking about?
Literally, like Trump must think he's playing a game of Risk. Like this, he's such a fucking baby brain child. I watched it, and I thought that the real villain of the piece was Vance for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
trying to tank the stuff. He's the real agent here. Trump is just a fucking big dumb. Like I've referred to him as Jar Jar Binks on Novara because that's what he is, right? Yeah. He's the person that they throw in front of the Senate so that Palpatine can take charge.
Basically, yes, yeah. He's of the 2, he's the one that has functioning motor skills. Like his brain actually works. It works in a very bad way, quite an evil way. Whereas Trump is just, I don't even know what he is. He's like an avatar of a human being or something. Like he's just nothing. He's the ego of a mutant. That's it. He's just going to say whatever. It doesn't matter. It was so ridiculously undignified. Even at his worst, George W. Bush didn't do this. Reagan didn't do this. I said this at the time, like, even when during the détente fucking Soviet-US talks, behind the scenes you presume they're absolutely cussing each other out. But in front of the cameras, you're supposed to pretend to be a fucking diplomat, you wanker. What the fuck is... You can't even do that bit. You can't even pretend not to be a wanker for half an hour.
Well, because Trump thinks he's in the Apprentice boardroom.
Yeah, well, he literally is. I forget who said it, but he never stopped being a reality star.
No,
that's just his thing.
American politics is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone hasn't heard of Dark Jar Jar theory. I don't want to hear about that, thank you, Dolphin. That sounds genuinely appalling. But thank you. Anyway, shall we take a look at, I mean, the absolute meltiness of the man himself, because he is on with Laura Kay. And guess who else is on with Laura Kay as well today? You'll never guess. He's on for a 3rd time in like 2 months. It's our old friend Piers motherfucking Morgan.
The person who definitely hasn't hacked any phones ever.
No. He's
never
a good lad. Good lad. Yeah.
Good morning. The Prime Minister is with us live as we discuss war and peace. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the opposition, joins us too to say we must spend more to keep us safe.
Who's this? Who's this person?
I think she sounds like Minor Party.
Is this
weird how she's being interviewed on the kind of the highlight show with the Prime Minister on given how important things are at the moment. They've just got some random backbencher.
Yeah, like, is this an intern? Who is this person? I don't know who they are, but I mean, she looks nice. She's, you know, well
presented, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, love it. Yeah.
I really hope she isn't like an absolutely fucking demented idiot.
Well, that would
That'd
be a
really
shame.
bad.
Also, okay, I'm going to put this out there, right? He got that bloodshot eye either from doing drugs or straining too hard whilst taking a shit.
He looks like a 3 p.m. Channel 5 detective show character, doesn't he?
He does a bit. Or he looks like a normal person from the left side of his face, and the right side of his face is like, this is why you shouldn't do drugs, kids. Pink eye.
Davy wants President Zelenskyy to be honoured in Parliament. We'll hear the voice of Ukraine as the war goes on. And our team at the desk, journalist and Trump whisperer Piers Morgan, legendary broadcaster Christiane Amanpour,
he's not a journalist,
and Trump backer Greg Swenson, the chair of Republicans Overseas.
So you've got two Trump cock riders.
Literally, I think it's that Piers Morgan isn't a journalist.
No.
Piers Morgan is not a journalist. He's a YouTuber.
He's a YouTuber, yeah. Which means
That's
he's
what
fucking
he is, right?
scum. Yeah.
He's on our level. Get me on there. Get us on there. Get us on the panel.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Why not? Like, I love this. The BBC is supposed to be in some way representative of the UK, and yet 67% of their panel is pro-Trump. And yet you'd be lucky to find 1 in 10 people who didn't think he was a wanker.
Yeah, his approval rating is fucking -40 or some shit in the UK.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Good morning. Today really matters. President Zelenskyy is already in London. He was warmly welcomed with a hug by Keir Starmer in Downing Street yesterday.
Excuse me, he was welcomed by the leader of the free world. You put some respect on his fucking name.
Is trying to pick up the pieces and find a lasting settlement for Ukraine. And he's with us live, I'm pleased to say. Good morning, Prime Minister. Well, the job of resolving all of this has arguably made much harder by what happened in the Oval Office on Friday. Now, just in case anybody has been living under a rock, let's just give people a flavour of what happened.
And then we can hear Keir Starmer pretend it didn't happen. Just pretend, just be fine with that, because Trump's coming around for tea and cakes.
Do you know the worst part about all of this is that Starmer's approval rating and Labour's polls are going to fucking shoot up.
True.
It's going to fucking happen.
True.
They're going to forget all of the children they've starved, and the old people they've frozen, and the disabled people they've immiserated, right? And all the genocides that he armed. And they go, oh, he had a hug with Zelenskyy, so he's the good guy now.
True, but not in the nation as a whole, I don't think. Because literally, most of the reaction I've seen from this, and to be fair, most of it's online, so it's not really necessarily indicative, but I sense that most of the reaction is, okay, why are you finding £2 billion for fucking Ukraine? Our library's shutting, and I can't afford to heat my fucking house, you prick. Like,
well, that's just what's so dumb about it. Yeah, so the thing is, it's perfectly reasonable to say that geopolitically being in strong stead is really important right now. And I would agree with you. I would absolutely agree with people who said we need to be geopolitically strong at a time of crisis like this,
Yeah.
Not perfectly reasonable to say that, but when your decision to do that is we have fiscal rules for all of the economic stuff that's domestic, but we can do as much military Keynesianism as we want, then what you're saying is you actually put protecting a country over building a country worth protecting. Right? Because no one wants to fucking fight for this country. No one wants to protect this country. This country fucking sucks right now. And they could tax the rich, but they won't even tax the rich. They're going to take it away from the disabled and from the DFID, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When I say this, don't get it twisted, people. I think we should help the Ukrainians. I'm very proud of the fact that we've been helping the Ukrainians. And given that America is stabbing them in the back, we may need to step that up. And that's fine, because the thing is, right, we can afford to do that. We can also afford to have schools that aren't collapsing and build a railway and have people be able to afford basic necessities. These things are all possible if we use the resources we have with any level of efficiency whatsoever, instead of just allowing 20 people to become richer than God.
Have you considered, right, that once we make them richer than God, we can then pay even more money from our pockets to protect the assets that they own?
That is also true. That is also true. You know what? You make a very good point. Hail capitalism.
Not the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards.
You're playing cards. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you gibbering on about, you clown? You're playing cards. Motherfucker's literally left a war zone to come and chat with you. A man who hasn't done a day's work in his fucking life.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Prime Minister, where were you when you saw those images and what went through your...
And can Trump make it any more obvious that he's like a weird little Putin bitch? When literally his thing afterwards, the weird little ad hoc press conference thing, was literally him saying like, oh, he didn't have to be all negative about Putin. What?
Fucking massacred his people.
He's literally bombing. Like 2 days before he arrived there was the largest drone strike thing ever. It killed like 70 fucking people. I reckon he might have some, at the very least, sceptical views towards Mr. Putin, shall we say?
Yeah, it's just like the same as literally he's going full Netanyahu. Zelenskyy hates Putin in the same way that Khaled Meshal hates Netanyahu, right? Very easy to understand.
Yeah, if you've got a functioning brain, but Trump doesn't. And I'll be honest, I don't want to be too much of a lib here, but I am beginning to genuinely become a P-type truther. There's some compromise on this motherfucker. There definitely is. There's no it's not in his interest at all to look this feckless, right? This doesn't do him any good, really.
Well, I think Vance is the one, right? Because all those connections with the with like the oligarch type people. That's where I reckon it all comes from. What's frustrating, right? Is all the Russiagate stuff. A load of it was bollocks, right? But all of the bits that, because the libs pinned all of their hopes on Russiagate, everyone just kind of ignored the fact that it was true that the Russians had links to the Trump campaign, right? It was fucking Paul Manafort.
Yeah.
Like, they had links. They did try and interfere. They didn't necessarily have direct contact to Trump himself, and we didn't get any proof of that at all. But we know full well that the Russian connection to the Trump campaign was Paul Manafort. That was true. And because libs were mad, people just forgot about this.
Yeah.
I was in my office, and nobody wants to see that. And later that day...
God, he's so useless!
Imagine that. This is his moment to say something. I mean, okay, I'm not expecting him to start going, never before in the field of human conflict. So, I'm not expecting him to do a Churchill. But come up with something. Well, nobody wants to see that, do they? Honest to
lava, wasn't it?
God. Oh, that wasn't very nice, was it? Oh no, terrible. You fucking briefcase cunt. Fuck's sake, honestly. Oh. Give me Neville Chamberlain. Give me Neville fucking Chamberlain over this cunt, honestly. And I don't mean Neville Chamberlain when he was alive either. Give me the corpse of Neville Chamberlain. It couldn't be worse than this.
Just with Morgan McSweeney operating his mouth like it's Weekend at Bernie's.
True.
Picked up the phone to President Trump, and I picked up the phone to President Zelenskyy, because to my mind, the focus has to be a lasting peace in Ukraine, which is really important for the security and defence of Europe and of the United Kingdom. And therefore, I took to the phones. That was my response.
And what did you say to President Trump? Because you say nobody wants to see that, but many people were appalled by what they saw. A war leader being berated by the man who's meant to be the leader of the free world. So what did you say to Donald
nobody
Trump?
wants to see that. Clearly...
He's just going to say it again! So, presumably, they focus group this one, did they?
Yeah,
this was the best they could come up with, was nobody wants to see that. Actually, loads of people did want to see that. Trump's amongst his base, they seem to love it. So stop pretending that America's still on our fucking side when they're not.
I wonder if Kuenssberg feels like he has the hand of history on his shoulder.
I wonder if he feels like he's got the fucking dick of Trump hanging out the back of him. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Honestly. And then when he handed him the letter, oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't think I could cringe out internal organs, and yet I'm now empty. It's ridiculous.
It looked like a kid being given a present that they didn't ask for from a grandparent at Christmas.
And then brilliantly, I mean, I did a joke, right, about it being a flex, because, like, everyone knows that Trump can't fucking read. So he hands him a letter, and it's a sly way of going, you prick, right? Funny. But then he literally went, am I supposed to read this now? Clearly thinking, shit, I'm going to have to pretend to read this now. And then when he was like, do you want to read out the bit from there? And he went, I'll let you do it, Kia, if that's okay. Because he can't fucking read. Donald Trump can't read. That's just a fact. There's no way a man that obsessed with his own fucking voice would allow anyone else to speak unless he absolutely has to. It's because he didn't read the letter, because he can't read, and then when asked to read it out loud, he passes it to his little fucking helper gimp monkey here. Fucking hell.
There's a lot of tension. The cameras were on. Nobody wants to see that. But I spoke to President
Trump. 3 times he said it now. He's the most useless vacuum of a human being. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
And if he said it so many times that they know that it's the line that he's been shipped to
exactly,
him by his handlers. Like what the fuck? Like, oh my god, these people are so useless.
That's the best they could come up with, is nobody wants to see that.
Well, these are the same people who have been running his election campaign and his time as prime minister, which of course has led to some of the worst approval ratings in the shortest period of time ever for a new prime minister. So it's going well.
Yeah, from the same comms team that let an entire summer go by with the headline, "They want to freeze your grandmother." So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's a step up. Really, they've upped their game to just nobody wants to see that.
Then had President Zelenskyy to Downing Street yesterday, and I spoke to President Macron after that, and then to President Trump. And the purpose, or my driving purpose, has been to bridge this, if you like, and get us back to the central focus. And as a result of the meeting yesterday, we had quite a long time with President Zelenskyy, then President Macron and President Trump on the phone. We've now agreed that the United Kingdom, along with France and possibly 1 or 2 others, will work with Ukraine on a plan to stop the fighting, and then we'll discuss that plan with the United States. So in those calls on Friday night, through the meeting yesterday, into the calls again last night, I think we've got a step in the right direction because, as I say, nobody wants to see what happened on Friday, but it's really important that we keep our central focus, which is lasting peace in Ukraine. Nobody wants any more bloodshed.
And everybody wants to hear the...
This guy's career was literally talking and persuading people for a living, right?
Yeah.
He was director of public prosecutions, which I think will be a shock to many people to find this out because he never mentions it, you know?
Yes.
His job was supposed to be being, like, incredibly persuasive, and he's... How is he this bad at just talking?
Yeah, indeed. Did he say it again? Did we miss one? Oh, God. 4. We're up to 4. Amazing. Jesus Christ. And of course the same Maltas who turned up and did the whole we need to defend Ukraine against this terrible incursion and genocide against their people are just going to ignore the fact that casually Israel announced today that they're going to block all humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip.
While still going full fucking, mowing the lawn on the West Bank.
Yeah, like literally they just announced that. They're not even just doing it and then like denying it. They're just like, no, we're doing the war crime. You know that war crime? We're doing that.
That thing, which is directly in violation of the provisional measures that were handed down by the ICJ.
Yeah. One of the things for which he is an internationally wanted war criminal, yes. But, rules-based order or something? As someone pointed out, Elon Musk has called for the US to remove themselves from NATO and the United Nations, which is an interesting step forward considering he's basically the president. And someone pointed out, if they leave the United Nations, who's going to veto the things against Israel, the Security Council?
It will be funny if Donald Trump, being president, that Netanyahu worked really fucking hard for, leads to them actually finally being voted down.
Yeah, because the US leave and then they just get unanimous condemnation in the United Nations. Yeah. Amazing.
Details of what the proposals might be that you are trying to get agreed. But what happens matters so much because it's about the trust and the relationship between the two men at the center of this, President Zelenskyy and President Trump. President Trump said, it's difficult to do business like this. He made it completely clear.
But that's so obviously the case, right? It's difficult to do business because that's Trump's entire bit. And he's the inevitable outcome of 50 years of neoliberal capitalism. That there is no principle behind any of it. It's what's the best financial deal I can get out of this. I want to get as much of their natural resources for as little outlay as possible. And the morality of it, the legality of it, the solidarity of it, everything's for sale. Nothing matters. Which is why he's so upset that people like Zelenskyy won't just cave in. Because in theory, he could just cave in and just go, yeah, ceasefire, give up any land we like, whatever. But there are some things you can't negotiate away. Especially after, the sunk cost of however many lives and all of the treasure of Ukraine for generations. They're not just going to fucking roll over. And so having someone with any principle to them whatsoever is just offensive to people like Trump.
It's crazy, honestly, just the level of insanity. It's just like, we've been Trump just kind of waltzing into this 2-year-long conflict and going, well, I'm the one who gets to decide how this finishes, even though he's been part of none of it, changing this. So it's like, well, you owe us for all this military aid that we've given you. I'm like, no, you can't just take somebody else's gift that was given and then want something retroactively. It's so silly.
I love it. The people have missed one particular key word that Vance said, I think, or 2 words, I should say. When it wasn't just that he was saying, have you said thank you about Zelenskyy? Because obviously he has said thank you a million times, and you can prove that. It's, have you said thank you once in this meeting? That's
have you shown due deference to God Emperor Trump, basically?
Exactly. Like, I don't care if you said thank you to the nation or to the taxpayers or to the American country or whatever. Have you kissed the ring? And he hadn't.
Both rings.
And that was, well, exactly, yeah. And that's it. That's what they want. They want him to grovel at their feet and give them all of the natural the rare earth minerals.
Well, to be fair, it was very difficult for Zelenskyy to kiss the ring, so you had to fight past Keir Starmer to kiss it first.
That is true. Keir Starmer does have first refusal. Absolutely.
Just kind of connected by.
He's sort of homesteaded the ring piece of Donald Trump. Yeah.
That he didn't have in that moment very much sympathy for Ukraine. He was berating President Zelenskyy, telling him he should be grateful. And I think, Prime Minister, anyone who's known you for a long time would have a pretty good guess that you would have felt deeply uncomfortable watching what played out.
Guess what he's going to say? Have a guess at what statement's going to come out of his mouth now. I'm going to guess he's going to say, well, nobody wants to see that. I'm going to go with.
Also, I mean, really, thank you, non-binary, for posting this in chat. New York Times are reporting that Pete Hegseth has ordered the Pentagon to stop all offensive cyber operations against Russia.
So they're literally just Putin's little bitches, yeah.
Yeah, they are entirely compromised.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Now, if you want, there's no real segue here. Give me money.
Everyone in my chat, go and give Kev money. Total this car, for fuck's sake. Give the guy a break.
Well, yeah, but also give No Justice MTG money because she needs to survive as well.
I mean, to be fair, I did just win $2,000, so I don't need the money as much as
True, you did. Yeah, no, well, because you're very good at. I don't even know what the fuck it is you play. Is it not Dungeons and Dragons? Magic the Gathering. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It's like literally, I couldn't tell you the difference between those two things. I'm a very ignorant man. Anyway, but yes, thank you. Yes, in the form of bits and subs and memberships and blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, and I've got a new meme on my channel. You say that it's cheaper than a can of Red Stripe.
Kind of Red Stripe. Yeah.
Well, someone sent me a thing of a £1 Freddo.
It was Kevin, wasn't it?
Unbelievable, and I just thought honestly, we need to have a revolution instantly, and so you can literally become a member on my YouTube for cheaper than a fucking Freddo, which is
also
horrific.
Speaking of crazy prices, right? And as in America, I went to a grocery store. I posted this on Twitter because I was absolutely gobsmacked. It's just a tube of Colgate for $8.
Oh,
$8.
For fuck's sake! Oh. God
$8.
almighty.
I'm not surprised they turned to fascism. Jesus fucking Christ.
And I'm sure renaming it the Gulf of America will definitely bring down the price of all of those things. Yeah. Trump's working really hard this weekend playing golf to bring down the price of toothpaste. Yeah. Fact.
True. Yeah. Once they have, exterminated all of the trans people, then the eggs will be affordable again.
True. And by eggs, you don't mean people who haven't realised they're trans yet. Because that would be a very weird sentence.
Did you?
Yes, I felt uncomfortable. Nobody wants to see that.
He said the thing! Oh,
Fine.
Fucking bingo! Honest, I swear to God, no pre-watch chat. He's just a robot. He's a very predictable robot boy. Fuck it.
Literally, entirely having his strings pulled, and he is the one who's fucking the bulwark between us and nuclear annihilation.
Oh, give me the fetid bones of Neville Chamberlain. Fuck me. This is... Oh, what an absolute loser. This is our fucking Churchill, is it? We're dead. Let's stop pretending.
He's cheeseoid. Sorry, yeah, you're right. He is cheeseoid. Cheese, petrol.
True.
Cheeseoid hate self.
Cheeseoid kill self. Why cheeseoid exist?
But the important thing is how to react to that. There are a number of different routes people could go down. One is to ramp up the rhetoric as to how outraged we all are or not. The other is to do what I did, which is roll up my sleeves, pick up the phone, talk to President Trump.
And work the shaft. Work the orange shaft mercilessly.
Boiled like a baby otter.
True.
Talk to President Zelenskyy, then invite President Zelenskyy for an extensive meeting yesterday, warm welcome, and then further...
Yeah, he's been here like fucking 3 days or something now. Is he one of the Ukrainian refugees?
Boiled like a baby otter.
Like, don't get me wrong, he's welcome. Look, I've got a spare room. Vlad, I've got a spare room, mate. If you need to bed down for a few days, you need somewhere to stay. Just saying.
What's your thoughts on Kev on the rumours that apparently Keir Starmer is banging Baroness Chapman?
I don't believe it necessarily because he doesn't seem interesting enough to have an affair.
Like a baby
but it was also the fact that he announced, like, when he went silent, because it's been a real up and down for the Starmer people. They thought he played a blinder with Trump until the next day when Trump made himself the international pariah, and then it was like, oh, that's not great. And now he's back to being the leader of the free world. And during all of that time, like, when he was silent after the Trump thing, like, he went missing. He didn't put out any statements or say anything. Except to say congratulations on the new top job to his best mate. Like, what?
Like a baby otter.
What the fuck is that? Hang on, I'll get to the noises in a second.
Priorities, right? Clearly.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. Well, it's not like an Israeli person needed to be condoled or whatever, because those people are humans after all. Thank you to, who was this? Frank Reed. Much love to you. Gifting 10 memberships. Much love. Yes. Yeah, no, he's not having an affair. Look at him. Does this man look like he fucks? You joking?
He's fucked twice already, and that's already fucking.
Well, I'm still sure it's an Elon IVF situation. Does Elon have like an indefinite number of children at this point? someone posted this on YouTube earlier, or not YouTube, on Twitter, that Elon Musk's kids should unionize. Which, yeah, that's about right.
President Trump afterwards, because my reaction was we have to bridge this, we have to find a way that we can all work together, because in the end, we've had 3 years of bloody conflict now. We need to get that lasting peace. And I have to say, I've spoken to President Trump a number of times. I've met him twice. We had a long session on Thursday. I'm clear in my mind that he does want lasting peace. He does want an end to the fighting in Ukraine. I'm absolutely clear that's what his motive is. I agree with that. President Zelenskyy agrees with that. I think everybody agrees with that, apart from Putin. And in the end, that remains the central, most important thing, which is why we took a step forward, in my view, last night when we agreed that we would work on a plan for stopping the fighting and then, as it were, discuss that plan with the United States. That's a step forward from where we were on Friday, and an important step forward.
And again, we will come to the details of that in just a second. But when it comes to the two versions of Donald Trump that we've seen this week, I think that's why many people were so sort of flummoxed by what they saw, because the version in the Oval Office with you...
Yeah, but no one wanted to see it. He's already told you this, Laura. Nobody wanted to see it, so I don't know why you're mentioning the fact that people saw it. Outrageous.
Gave the impression, as you say, that he does want a lasting peace, that he is sympathetic to your aim to protect Ukraine in the long term. Then the next day we saw a completely different version who appeared just to want it over, not particularly interested, said he was in the middle of Ukraine and Russia. He didn't want to give Ukraine any advantage. So which President Trump should our viewers believe? The one who was with you on Thursday or the one who was on Friday?
Well, I'm clear in my mind that he wants a lasting peace.
According to basically every single person who surrounds Trump, you literally cannot believe a word he says. I mean, literally to the point where he said, Did I call President Zelenskyy a dictator? I can't believe I said that. Can you remember what the fuck he'd said previously? Words mean nothing, totally meaningless to him.
Well, that was the whole point. Like, the Maltas like Mason and all those who, if we go back the now seemingly a epoch ago of 3 days when he was in Washington, and he supposedly had several wins out of the Trump meeting. Nothing you ever achieve when you're doing diplomacy with Trump is ever a win. Because he literally he's like a pigeon. It's just the next thing he sees. Everything else goes out the window. It's the next thing. So he'll talk to one of Elon Musk's army of 20-year-old 4chan fucking incels about Ukraine and then have a completely different policy an hour later. Because it's always the last thing. The last person he talked to. There's no... When you make an international agreement, that's on the understanding that A, the other party can remember what was said, and B, that they'll stick to it. And with Trump, neither one of those things is remotely possible. So it's never a win. It's nothing.
Exactly. Also, thank you, CG Man, for the £2 super chat. Biden sought minerals behind doors, Trump is brazen, right? Well, the difference, of course, is whether you do a trade deal or whether you just go in going, I want all of your minerals, I want to get all of the rare earth, I want to get all of them now to repay for all of the military aid that we've given you. By just coming in and saying, give minerals now, please. It's not a trade agreement. It's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And he's doing it just because, in the words of his advisor, who's definitely not the head of Doge, because then you'd have actually, legal recourse against him. We can coup whoever we want. He just wants the lithium for the batteries. He wants to build these stupid batteries for his shit cars that sat on fire that no one wants to buy. There. That's literally the long and short of it.
That comes from my discussions with him on Thursday. We had extensive discussions. I've obviously met him before that, back in September in New York, and I've talked to him a number of times on the phone, including Friday night and Saturday night. So my strong view is that he wants a lasting peace. And I agree with him about that. President Zelenskyy agrees with him about that. And I think nobody wants this conflict to go on, least of all the Ukrainians. It's not in our national interest. And we've got to be absolutely focused on that as we go forward. But I'm clear.
Look, he's literally, I told you, he's just going to ignore the fact that Donald Trump just ripped up the Atlanticist dream. We're just going to pretend like that isn't a thing, like he isn't the enemy of Ukrainian sovereignty.
Exactly, like, just going, well, Putin can have whatever we want, me or you. The Pete Hegseth literally saying, well, they're not going to get what they want, so we're not going to bother even trying to fight for it. That's not how fucking a negotiation works.
Yeah.
You only go into a negotiation and just go, well, you can have whatever you want, please fuck me now. It's so dumb, Also, on a tangential point, do you remember how basically up until November last year, the position of every single liberal in the UK was we should give military support to Ukraine as much as we can afford to do so, continually so that they can fight back, but we will stop short of direct boots on the ground confrontation with Russia because that is a serious security threat because of NATO, because of nuclear armaments, etc., etc., etc. That was the prescribed position by every single liberal. And since a couple of days ago, since last week or whatever, it is now you will support going to war with Russia or you are like an Adolf Hitler shell.
Yeah, literally.
Like, is it not?
It's the consent machine for war. It's Iraq all over again. They know what they're doing. They're drumming it up ahead of time so that the war can just happen. Yeah, that's what they want. That's always what they wanted, really. Not necessarily Keir Starmer, but the military-industrial complex or whatever. Yeah, they love it. That's why you never get... You were about to hear, I did see one clip of Kemi Badenoch. Literally, the Tory party leader going, oh, actually, we need to have a panel, an independent panel, another Quango, brilliant, on how to further increase military spending. Not to decrease public spending, to further increase military spending. Very cool, very cool. Maybe we can just... I don't know, burn pensioners to fuel the engines of these tanks or something. I don't know.
Save on pensions.
True.
In my view, that President Trump wants lasting peace, and I agree with him on that.
And President Trump, we've heard him many times talk about the deal. What do you understand to be in President Trump's ceasefire deal or the peace deal? What do you understand that to mean?
Well, a lasting peace.
But what does that mean to Donald Trump?
Well, that means a line that is agreed, the terms of the deal, and then that line is defended. And we discussed this at length on Thursday, because you can't have a deal that then falls apart. And that is what President Zelenskyy is worried about. He's pretty open about that. There was the Minsk deal, obviously, before. It didn't hold. And so President Zelenskyy is rightly concerned that if there's to be a deal...
Well, this is ultimately the point. You know that America isn't going to stick to the deal because it's Trump. And you know that Putin isn't going to stick to the deal because it's Putin. And what Trump ultimately wants is just capitulation. That's not peace. That isn't peace and won't actually provide security in the long term. It's just going to store up more fucking resentment and the war will kick off at some point in the future.
Well, then the aggressors will then know that there is scope for them to advance further, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Once you've ceded so much, rhetorical and geopolitical ground, they'll know that the door is wide open for the continuing future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like we literally tried appeasement. It didn't work.
Well, it has to hold, and that's why we've talked extensively about what are the guarantees. In what way do we all defend the deal if a deal is made?
So let's take those things in turn. So you say there would be a line agreed. Where would the line between Russia and Ukraine be agreed? Can you tell us that?
Kiev? The Dnieper? I don't know. What do you mean?
No.
Well, the land bridge between Crimea and Rostov is going to be the thing, right? That's going to be where all of the negotiations hinge, right?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I can't see them getting the Donbass People's Republics. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
That's obviously a subject for discussion, and it has to be an issue centrally for the Ukrainians. Now, that's why I've said throughout, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine. But what I am clear about is that...
There already has been. Stop pretending America isn't doing the bad thing. They met the dictator Putin in the dictator bin Salman's country to discuss without Ukraine there about how their evil dictator who was elected, Zelenskyy, can fuck off and do one.
And how they're going to carve it up for their future interests later on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Honestly, the people who thought that Trump was anti-imperialist, honestly, R.I.P. lads.
If there is to be a deal, if there is to be a stopping of the fighting, then that agreement has to be defended, because the worst of all outcomes is that there is a temporary pause and then Putin comes again. That has happened in the past. I think it is a real risk, and that is why we must ensure that if there's a deal, it's a lasting deal, not a temporary pause.
And has Donald Trump told you, given you his word, that America would guarantee the security of such a deal?
Well, that was an intense part of the discussion we had on Thursday. I think you will have heard him in the press conference that we
So that's
had.
no. I'm just going to say already, no. The answer is no. If it was yes, he'd have said yes already. He wouldn't have said 20 words and then yes. So the fact is, Trump has not given him his backstop. The only back involved was when Keir Starmer threw it back against Daddy.
That's the thing, right, is that you can be really critical of NATO for trying to be the world's police, right? And the United States using their geopolitical power to be able to swing their dick around into conflicts where they're not wanted, right? But the opposite is true. When, someone wants you to rely on you to help protect yourself, right?
Yes.
Creating a mutually beneficial alliance of protection is important for geopolitical niceties. You don't need NATO, you don't need this interventionist bollocks that we've seen for however long to have these kind of agreements, right? And Trump doesn't even recognise the utility of this at all.
Yeah, because again, there's nothing beyond financial for him. That's all there's ever been. Because his entire life, he's never had to worry about anything else. It's just money. Money, 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 money. And so that's all he gives a fuck about, is what's the best financial deal I can do. Geostrategy is not a thing that enters his mind. Because nothing really does enter his mind. It's soup.
True.
He would always have our backs. That's been the situation for many, many years, and a very clear commitment.
He doesn't have our back. They're literally, stopping any offensive shit against Russia right now, as we speak. America is not our friend. Stop pretending. I know you want it to be, because your whole thing is I'm Tony Blair 2.0, and so the Atlanticist dream has to continue. But you're literally, you're dreaming of a world that doesn't exist anymore.
That's the thing, right? And it's right. We've always thought that America was our friend, when in reality, they weren't friends, right? We were their bitch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
America's bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But they're not even our geostrategic ally anymore. Then it's nothing. I want NATO to fall apart, but not like this. I wanted the Europeans to grow a backbone and be like, no, fuck this noise, and cast off the yoke of the American oppressor. But no, it's now just like America going, see ya, motherfuckers, have fun with the Russian bear, you pricks. Which, is not ideal. Because Germany doesn't have an army. It's nothing. Germany hasn't looked to its own defences in nearly a century. And it shows.
To Article 5 of NATO. There's a long way to go.
That's a different question, because Ukraine's not in NATO. So what Donald Trump said last week is, I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that.
Yep.
So on this central question, I'll ask again, is it your belief, and has the American president told you, that he would, with American military backing, whatever it is, whether it's fast jets or long-range radar, would he guarantee any peace deal that is agreed between Ukraine and Russia?
Well, that's the subject of discussion.
So there's no guarantee yet?
Yeah, so that's no. Yeah, exactly. A journalism just took place. 1-0 Laura. Yeah, no, again, just saying that was the topic of discussion, yes. And what was the outcome of that discussion? You dopey bastard. We know that's what you talked about. Obviously, you said that's what you were going to fucking talk about. So was the outcome of that he said, yes, I concur with your position, Mr. Starmer? Or did he say, fucking do one, son? And it's clearly not the former.
Quite.
He would have our backs. And as a result of my meeting on Thursday, the most significant thing in my view was that our teams, the US team and the UK team, are going to be meeting about that very issue. That is progress, and I'm interested in material progress. We've gone, I think the way this works, to my mind, is that European countries have to do more and provide a security guarantee, and that's what I'm discussing with President Macron and others. It's what I'll be discussing today. But I've always been clear that that is going to need a US backstop, because I don't think it would be a guarantee without it. I don't think it would be a deterrence without it. So the two have to go together. So for me, the components of a lasting peace are a strong Ukraine to fight on if necessary and to be in a position of strength to negotiate, a European element to security guarantees, and that's why I've been forward-leaning on this about what we would do, and a US backstop. And that's the package. All three parts need to be in place.
Okay, and that last one isn't going to happen, so your plan's dead.
I mean, at least this was an actual, substantive answer to a question. One of them was never going to happen, of course,
Yeah.
The backstop stuff is a non-starter, but at the very least he's articulated a position here, rather than just stated a bunch of pablum like he usually does.
Yeah. Well, he still didn't technically answer the question that was asked. It was a substantive answer, but the question was, did he agree to do a backstop? And and the answer is no. We know the answer is obviously no, yeah.
We want there to be a backstop. We know you want there to be one. Will you be able to get one? Well, and of course the answer is no.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working hard to bring together.
And undoubtedly, everybody around the world can see you're working incredibly hard to do that, and you'll have, I think, more than a dozen leaders coming here today. But do you think that President Zelenskyy has done anything wrong?
No, I think this is a man whose country has been at war for 3 years. They have been invaded by Russia. This is Russian aggression. I remember when the Berlin Wall came down as a young man, I thought that I'd never see Russian troops go over a border in Europe again. I thought we'd moved on to a new era. So when that happened, it's clear it's Russian aggression, and the quickest way to end this conflict...
I just want to say Russia didn't leave Eastern Germany for another 5 years. His grasp of history is poor.
Yeah.
Is Russia to stop the aggression, and we need to be really clear about that.
Why does President Trump seem to find it so hard to be clear about that? He says, I'm not for Ukraine, I'm not for Russia.
Because he's an idiot. Because
Well,
he's really, really stupid. And also, it's in the pocket. But I mean, why can we not just... I'm so sick, and I'm going to be sick for the next 4 years. We're going to have to continue discussing Donald fucking Trump for the entirety of the next 4 years. And I'm so sick of the fact that at no point does any of our news media just go, he's a thicko. He's just dumb. He's just a big dumb stupid, right? Why can we not just accept that he does stupid things sometimes because he is stupid? Yeah. But we have to take him seriously. There's not overanalyze the shit that he says, which is fucking nonsense because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he's not some cold, calculating political machine who's playing some 5D underwater backgammon. No, he's just a twat. He's just a twat who's acting out of ego or self-interest or greed or stupidity.
Yeah, or a combination of all four.
Yeah, exactly.
Speak for himself in relation to this. I know what he wants, which is lasting peace. I genuinely believe that is his motivation.
Hang on, you can't say, I'm not going to come on here and speak for Trump, and then say he wants a lasting peace. Because that's you speaking for Trump. You can't just take the nice bits that he says when you've got your dick, well, I won't go into that. Is when you're in service of Mr. Trump.
There you go, good one.
Yeah, you very nearly got us both shut down there. Good save. Anyway, you can't just take the nice bits when you're in Washington. It's the whole package of things, right? It's the fact that he's called him a dictator. He's blamed Ukraine for starting the war. He and his vice president did some internet blood sports fucking jump on him.
They fucking debate loaded him.
Yeah, they literally did.
They debate loaded him.
They fucking debate per hippy dippy him. Honestly, and there were points where I was like, Dylan, use the fucking mute button, lad. Oh shit, he's not in control of this anymore. No.
I think it's the central most important thing for European security and defence and our own security and defence, because, you know, this is about the United Kingdom and our national security, our national interests. We've already been impacted in terms of the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis. So that conflict is not just about Ukraine, it is also something felt very materially back at home.
Everybody watching would know how they felt it through their own energy bills.
We have to do everything we can to bring about the lasting peace. It's in our own interest, it's in European interest, and it's certainly in the interest of the Ukrainians.
Part of whether that's possible is whether the leaders who have to come to the table can trust each other. Now, you've said that Zelensky's done nothing wrong. One of the concerns that he was expressing in the Oval Office is that it's hard to trust Vladimir Putin's word. Would you trust Putin?
Well, no, I wouldn't trust Putin, which is why I want a security guarantee. I wouldn't trust him not to come again, because he's proven that he will come again. He's already done it.
So why do you trust Netanyahu?
Okay, very good point, very pertinent point. I will just point out, I paused because I was going to say stop talking about his orgasms. And I think that's a very clear delineation between the types of content we produce.
But it's so frustrating, right? Go, well, I don't trust Putin because he'll come back later on. Like the Israelis have been coming back later on for the past 80 fucking years.
Yeah.
And we know what his ambitions are. But that is precisely why we need a guarantee to the deal. There's no point in a deal that falls apart after a number of months or years, and therefore the guarantee is, because I believe there's a risk that Putin will come again if he's given the opportunity.
Oh my God, he's
to
coming so much.
Need to shut that opportunity out, which is why I've been so centrally focused on what a guarantee is. How do we defend the line if a line is agreed in the deal?
And do you trust President Zelensky?
Yes, I do.
Do you trust Donald Trump?
Yes, I do.
There you go, everyone. Political mastermind.
Leader of the free world, I think you mean.
Leader of the free world, yes.
When on Thursday he made one set of remarks, and then on Friday gave the whole world...
No one wants to see that.
Because I've spoken to him a number of times. I've got to know him. I've had extensive discussions with him, and I believe his
God, did you see Lammy as well? Sat there like a little fucking... What an embarrassing human being. And man, you know he's a fascist. And David Lammy's just sat there like smiling. Like, I'm important. I'm the Foreign Secretary. I'm an important boy. Look, I'm in the Oval Office. You fucking sad little cunt. You sellout piece of shit.
It's just, this whole thing is nightmarish. It's just, I feel like I watched the entirety of what's going on here. It's in slow motion. Everything's so depressing.
Can we have Liz Truss back? That was fun, eh? This is just horrible.
Remember when it was all the fucking lettuce memes, and now we just have like the teetering precipice of geopolitical instability, and we have just a total fucking non-entity as the bulwark. It's so depressing.
Yeah, I want lettuce and anal sex memes. What I don't want is an empty suit leading us into nuclear holocaust.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Is lasting peace.
That is my strong... Week that President Zelensky was a dictator, and then a couple of days later said, "Oh, did I say that?"
I've been clear. President Zelensky is obviously elected leader of this country.
See, so he's just going to pretend that he didn't. That's his entire strategy, is just pretend that the evil, horrible shit Donald Trump just did, he didn't do. And just state, well, that's not... Our position is this. Okay, but I didn't ask you what your fucking position was, cunt. What do you think about the position of the American president? Well, our position is that he's a democratically elected leader. Fuck me. It's literally, it just put your head in the sand and pretend it isn't happening. Brilliant.
How you can trust Donald Trump when he says one thing one day and one thing the next.
During the Second World War, we suspended elections. But if the central question you're putting to me is, do I trust Donald Trump when he says he wants lasting peace? The answer to that question is yes.
But she didn't ask you that question. You don't get to redefine the question. She didn't ask you that question.
I mean, that's the Tony Blair shtick, isn't it? That's what Tony Blair did his entire time at like PMQs at the dispatch box in the Commons, right? Answer the question that you want to answer, and then people will forget what the original question was.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But also, take a step back, the relationship between the US and the UK is the closest relationship of any two countries in the world. Our defence, our security, our intelligence are bound up.
I mean, it is in the sense that they're literally inside us, yes. We literally couldn't be any closer because they're pulling our fucking hair.
Up one with another in a way that is not seen anywhere else in the world. We trade together, we fought wars together, and so this is a central, really important...
We've overthrown so many democratic governments together, honestly. But good times, good times.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Ajax and Mossadegh in 53, right? We've done so many coups together, so many good memories.
So many coups, honestly. The number of fascists we've propped up together is, honestly, amazing work. Do you know how many innocent people we've tortured together? Come on now.
Exactly. Remember the Abu the Abu Ghraib pictures in the scrapbook?
Oh, Abu Ghraib, you're going very modern. I'm going all the way back to the American School of the Pacific. Oh yeah.
Ooh, retro.
Yeah, teaching them to drag innocent people over barbed wire so that their flesh falls from their bones.
How very droll.
Home of the brave, land of the free, wankers.
Sort of nice phrase. If you look at our defence, security and intelligence arrangements, they're intertwined like no other two countries. That's really important for our own national security. We need to be really clear in relation to the relationship itself between our two countries.
And it's clearly very valuable to you, and clearly you've made a bond of sorts with Donald Trump in the time that you've been in office. Lots of people, though, look at how Donald Trump behaves in this country and don't like it very much. And there are people like the SNP, for example, other public figures saying he shouldn't be given a second state visit. That's an unprecedented thing. It wasn't given to Reagan. It wasn't given to George Bush. Why does Donald Trump deserve a second state visit? Or frankly, was it a diplomatic enticement so that you could get him on board?
Well, that's a matter for the King. The King has extended the invitation.
It wouldn't have happened if the government hadn't wanted it to, Prime Minister.
Yeah, exactly. Don't throw it onto sausage fingers. I am loath to defend the royal family. But when it comes to shit like this, they're not actually in control. In theory, they are. Officially, as the head of state, he has to formally invite another head of state for an official state visit. But it's the government that fucking decide that. And he just turns up and goes, what evil dictator am I meeting today? Oh, it could be the King of Saudi Arabia. It could be a democratically elected leader. It could be someone in a funny hat. We don't know. And he just turns up and shakes their hand. The idea that he's going to be like, no, throw the king under the bus. It was his decision. You fucking maltoid.
Mister, come on, everybody knows that.
The invitation. But again, this is a moment of real fragility in Europe. It's a very serious moment. You said so yourself.
No one wants to say that.
Absolutely right. And therefore, the central, most important thing, what drives me is what I'm saying and doing.
Yeah, did you see the front page of the Daily Mail today? Calling for the state visit to be cancelled. The fucking Daily Mail is to the left of the Labour leader. Outflanked by the party of the fucking black shirts. Hello? Helena. She's still in the thing, but I can't hear her. I don't know what's happening. Is she still broadcasting? Let's have a look. Yellow. Okay, so yeah. Well, hello there, everyone in Helena's chat. Hello. Yeah, she appears to have disappeared, which is, not ideal, but There you go. Yes, I mean, I suppose any questions whilst we wait? Hopefully everything's fine. Hopefully it's just a technological issue that can be dealt with in the near future. And that includes, by the way, any questions includes to No Justices chat. You can ask me a question and I will answer that question. She's got all that Magic the Gathering money and done a runner. True. True. And you know what? Good luck to her. She's earned it by playing a game. I don't know. Anyway, you can give money to either or indeed both of us in the form of bits and subs. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can gift subscriptions to the community. You can do super chats, which I will read out. You can become a member for 99p, which is literally like no amount of money. You can't even buy a fucking Freddo in some places for that amount of money. Yes, and become a member for or do super chats is also a thing that's possible.
We require food and sustenance to be able to continue being providing you with all the wonderful things we do for you.
Where did you go? Hello?
Hello?
Where did you... Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Where did you disappear to?
Oh, what's the loo?
I don't want to do
Oh,
this
you didn't.
anymore.
You didn't say. You just sort of walked off, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I really needed it.
What? What? Okay. Okay. I mean, unless you are literally about to shit your pants, you could
Okay,
just go back in a second.
That is true. That is
Because
true.
we were wondering where you'd gone. No one knew. I was scared. I was on my own in the dark. It was terrible.
I do apologise.
I may never recover. Anyway, thank you to Carl Brown, who says, "Hope you're well, Kev." I am well. Thank you, Carl, for the donation. Yes. Anyway, so Malty chops. Let's have a look.
More likely to bring about peace, a lasting peace, or not? If the answer is yes, I'll do it. If the answer is not, I won't do it. So I've seen people ramping up the rhetoric and taking to Twitter and saying what they would do. Good for them. I'm not that interested in that.
Even this prick still calls it Twitter.
I mean,
you can't win.
One of my favourite things about this is that the Wikipedia art page, maybe it's changed now, but last time I checked, the Wikipedia page for it is still called Twitter. And it says Twitter, known officially as X. And the reason it does that is because the colloquial name of Twitter is still used so often that that's the de facto name for it still, despite the fact that it's officially called X. Wikipedia calls it Twitter.
Well, that literally happens, doesn't it? Like Hoover as a word for a vacuum cleaner. Technically, Hoover is a brand, but even the Hoover people can't sue you for calling it a Hoover.
Yeah.
Because it's so generically known as that. The same with Tannoy for like in a public awareness.
Public address system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's a thing. And the British legal jargon is so fucking dumb for shit like that. You know how they judge the definition of that as well legally? Is they have to argue in court about whether a person on the Clapham omnibus would recognise the name of a thing. That's the actual legal definition for it. When there isn't even a Clapham omnibus. There hasn't been one since the 60s. Ridiculous. Oh, we're so old and stupid. That's what you get when you build a legal system around dickheads in powdered wigs. You know?
True,
anyway.
True. Yeah, check the Wikipedia article. It is still called Twitter on Wikipedia.
Much like his own children, the people who use Twitter do not like him or listen to him. So.
No.
I'm interested in what are the practical steps, what are the bridge building that I can do, what are the relationships that I can mend and take forward to take us to lasting peace in Europe. And in the end, that's my central concern. I'm not going to be diverted by the SNP or others trying to ramp up the rhetoric without really appreciating what is the single most important thing at stake here. We're talking about peace in Europe.
And you emphasise there how serious this is.
Right,
and you say
but Donald Trump is the enemy of peace in Europe. or one of the enemies of peace in Europe. So don't invite him. Like, it's not ramping up the rhetoric. And by the way, I know he has to play the politics game. He can't come out and say it. But you do hope behind the scenes that whenever the Americans try and arrange this, they put them off and put them off and put them off and put them off, and eventually they just stop. Which is what always happens. That's how you kick it into the long grass, right? When it becomes awkward.
Do you think that he thinks he can still achieve some kind of security arrangement from the USA over this, right? Do you think he still thinks that he can get security guarantees from Trump?
No, I don't think he does. But he doesn't know of any other way. He's not imaginative enough as a politician to come up with anything post-Atlanticist world. He only knows run to the Americans. They're the adults ironically, the adult in the room, and they'll take care of it. But the adult in the room is now going to punch you in the face instead. That's it. But he can't think of anything else. What we would now need is an actual leader with some balls. And what we have is, well, the opposite of that. What's the opposite of that? A ballless coward, I guess.
About peace in Europe. A lot of people have been alarmed, I think, by what's happened in the last few days.
Nobody wants to see that.
Heard that from viewers. Are people listening today wrong to be scared when they hear people talking about our long-term alliances that have kept us safe for decades being in jeopardy?
Well, I know there's a level of concern, and I want to reassure, because our relationship with the US is extremely important, and we will maintain it. And Donald Trump and I have talked about this, and we've expressed that together we want to take the relationship from strength to strength. So we share that ambition as well. Lots of people are urging me to choose between the US on the one hand and Europe on the other. Wrong.
Donald Trump has already made that choice for you. It's just a matter of when or if you ever realise.
Choice.
Also,
as a country, we've never done that.
On that note, right? Of course, the FBP people they're going to be talking about the European Union, right?
Oh, they've been wanking themselves silly. Oh, we need to rejoin the euro. We need to rejoin the EU. Motherfucker, you'd say that regardless of what happened. That's your entire bit.
But I mean, the calls for a rejoin movement are going to be absolutely deafening now, right? I mean, you'd think. I mean, I guess the problem, of course, is that all of the Atlanticists really do want us to be like that. They're almost going to become pro-Brexit just so we can walk this like US-EU tightrope.
Yeah.
Being the mediator, but I mean, I think we probably should. I think we probably should rejoin the European Union if there's something is the kick up the arse that was necessary to justify politically to the people of the UK that we should never have left in the first place, but that we should be rejoining now. Surely this is it. Obviously, I don't think the country is going to be ready for for having to fucking rattle all over the points on this one again.
Yeah, it's the. I mean, in a way, I feel sorry for Keir Starmer, because it is a difficult situation. Like, the certainties that a prime minister would have had for the last 60 years have been like that rug has just been pulled from underneath him, and that's not going to be easy even if you're a skilled politician. But the problem is he's not that, so he's just floundering embarrassingly and just going, nobody wants to see that, rather than actually doing anything of effect. We literally saw that 4-point plan where 3 of them were security. 3 of them were literally, we'll make sure Ukraine's safe, and that's his grand strategy, is to do what we were already doing, but more so.
I mean, and then elongate it into as much pablum as you can.
Yeah. Literally. Having to, there isn't a fucking word limit, lads. You don't have to just babble. It's like, no, we can't have 2 words. We need 4 steps, okay? That's the rule. We need 4 steps. Just repeat the last one twice again. That's fine. Fucking, that's the level we're at now.
Well, they don't think that the public can understand it unless you have it in like a bullet point list. But of course, the giant irony is that the public hate it, and they also find it very confusing.
He's honest to God. He's Mark Corrigan and Project Zeus.
It is Mark Corrigan and Project Zeus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, you know, your aims are too diffuse, Starmer. It's just, you can't work it out. You have to just go in there and say it doesn't fucking work. And then Johnson will be unhappy with you. Boris Johnson, that is, on this occasion. But, yeah.
As a Labour Party, we've never done that. And we shouldn't do it now.
So
we are in this position of having a special relationship with the US, having a strong relationship with Europe. We need to maintain both. And, you know, in the Second World War, in the aftermath, we never made that choice, and we're not going to make it now. We have to be really clear about that.
So today your focus will be on the European leaders who are arriving in London. There's always been plenty of rhetorical support for President...
And Trudeau. Don't forget Trudeau. He's about to leave. He's coming over for one last hurrah. He's going to have a right jolly up.
I mean, it is interesting looking at the fact that the Liberals might actually win the next election because of all of the shit, which is really funny to me.
Well, exactly, yeah. The twat that nobody wanted is stepping down, so job done there. And then America, literally... Did you see Mike Myers on SNL? With the...
No.
Yeah, his new role is the Elon Musk impersonator in their, like, cold open bit. And literally, at the end of the show where they all say thank you and goodbye, you had a T-shirt that said, "Canada is not for sale." You have... The man who was askance at Kanye West saying George W. Bush doesn't like black people, you've turned him into a revolutionary. He's a national hero now. You turned fucking Wayne from Wayne's World into a fucking revolutionist. Jesus. Unbelievable shit. So yeah, so now Canada's like, oh, that Poilievre guy sucking Trump's dick. That's not good, is it? And you can try and distance yourself, mate, but like, you've already fully paid up member of the Trump Club, mate. We all know who you are.
President Zelenskyy, but you have in recent days said...
And of course, the foolish mistake that Trump has made is that you can't buy Canada. What you need to do is go in there with arms and kill all the native people and just claim it. That's what we did.
True. Absolutely.
It can't be bought because it isn't real. You just need to take it over with guns and bombs and things. And you have more of that than Canada does. But that's how much of a pussy he is. Can't even be bothered to go and kill some French people. Really.
Well, the irony, of course, is that Trump kept going on about manifest destiny. You know, that was the big thing that he was talking. He was wanting to relive manifest destiny, and that is literally just going to the people who already live there and going, "Leave or we'll kill you."
Yeah. Do they think they bought that land off the Sioux? Is that how he thinks they got to the fucking Pacific? They just did some land acquisition deals with the Choctaw. No, they just stole that shit and killed them. That's why it's not a good thing to say you want to do that again. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me because I think most Americans do think they just sort of like negotiated the land. They don't seem to realise the genocide at all.
Nope. I mean, again, because otherwise they would have to recognise the fact that the manifest destiny that created America was the inspiration for Hitler.
You would have to admit that, yeah. And there's a horrific moment, and it's very well portrayed by what's his name, the Scottish actor that recently played the Murdoch character. Moore, is his name Moore? Brian Moore, something like that. Anyway, very well portrayed with Hermann Goering, who Brian Cox, thank you, played a fantastic Hermann Goering in the Nuremberg trials documentary thing. Mm-hmm. Not documentary, dramatization, thank you. Anyway, and there's a fantastic bit in there where he literally goes through the crimes of like Britain and America and France, who have committed equally terrible genocides. Not in the same industrialised way as the Holocaust, and maybe over a longer period of time, of course, but he makes some outstandingly good points about how, like, why are you sitting in judgment of me for doing something that's not as bad as the 100 million dead Indians? And there's a very powerful point to that. Now, I'm glad he's dead and he should have been hanged. But either way, like, let's not pretend that the concentration camps weren't perfected in the Boer War by the British, and that Manifest Destiny wasn't a massive inspiration for Lebensraum in the East, because it was.
Yeah, exactly.
countries have to step up. You've announced your own increase in defence spending. But what kind of action do you hope you can achieve today? Because I've been told that sometimes you get a bit fed up with people making beautiful speeches and giving all the rhetoric about Ukraine.
That's a general disposition of mine. I've
So
seen
you're generally fed up?
No, I mean, in Parliament the whole time, you get brilliant rhetorical speeches, but nothing done, and it's kind of...
Whereas you don't do either of those things. You don't give us great rhetorical speeches or any actual action. You give us...
Have you considered?
Nobody wants to see that.
No one wants to see that.
Yeah, no one wants to see that. Fucking hell, he is the embodiment of briefcase. He really is.
Yeah, absolutely. But the most sentient of briefcases.
Unbelievable.
Not the way I like to do politics.
So what do you want today? If you're going to bang the table in Downing Street?
No.
No, what he wants to do is like make a policy announcement and then break it later down the line. That's what he wants to do because that's his natural thing, of course.
Yeah.
Did you see he also broke his new the one of the few promises he actually made in the manifesto about the out of hours
the right to switch off,
to switch off thing? And I was surprised, right? Because I didn't realise they had any manifesto pledges that they hadn't already broken. I was surprised there were any left. And yet he managed to pull one out. Well done for achieving
True, honestly,
nothing.
At least he's now building up some level of consistency, right?
That is true. You can never say his consistency is you can never once claim he actually backed up any word with action. Ever.
Yeah, at least he is so committed to breaking pledges. He's breaking pledges we didn't even know he had.
Exactly, which would be very worrying if I were Vladimir Zelenskyy, because he has promised to protect Ukraine, which means he's going to start bombing Kiev tomorrow.
Absolutely. That's what the military spending was all for, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're doing it to pretend, but actually we're going to turn tail and join Russia, and we're going to have access. We're going to have a deal where we have access to Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblast once they're annexed.
Yes, let's go.
It's not my style, as you know. 2 or 3 things. Firstly, I do think the Europeans have stood up in the last 3 years. European countries have provided a lot of aid, a lot of money, a lot of training, a lot of capability to Ukraine, and we should acknowledge that. I do think that generally Europe needs to do more in its own defence and security, and that's why I've said we need to increase spending, we've got to increase capability, and we've got to coordinate more, because in the Ukraine conflict we've seen that the coordination isn't there. I think then on top of that we need to be clear what a European security guarantee would look like. I do acknowledge, as you put this to me, that that's more likely to be, in the first instance, a coalition of the willing. In other words, we've got to find those countries.
Iraq 2 electric boogaloo. Let's fucking go.
Woo!
Oh, Jesus.
Well, at least this time it's in service of something at least ostensibly noble.
True. Can we bully the nation of Vanuatu again this time into joining? I think that's necessary.
Absolutely. All the island nations, right? Kiribati has been, being lazy, quite frankly, up to this point.
Exactly. The Solomon Islands, get on board or we'll fucking nuke you, all right?
That are prepared to be a bit more forward-leaning. I'm not criticising anyone here, but rather than sort of move at the pace of every single member, every single country in Europe, which would in the end be quite a slow pace.
So
I do think we've got to probably get to a coalition of the willing now.
UK,
and move
France,
this forward.
how many other countries?
I think UK and France are the most advanced in the thinking on this, and that's why President Macron and I are going to be working on
advanced in the thinking? So everyone else is just too stupid? They're too stupid to have realised. No, we're the only dickheads who spend any real money on defence because we're fucking arseholes. We're nuclear-armed dickheads.
Yeah, despite the fact that we spend all this money on defence already, they're still fucking talk about how much more extra we need to spend.
Yeah. Mad.
This plan, which we'll
also don't you just love the sovereignty of having to spend 3, 4, 5% of GDP on defence because the American president said so. So much sovereignty and freedom post Brexit.
Absolutely.
Yummy.
And again, these are the people that Nigel Farage explicitly said he wants us to be close to and to call the shots, right?
Yeah, fucking embarrassing.
Patriotic.
With the US, that is a step in the right direction. This is not an exclusion. I'm not trying, the more the better in this, but we need to move to a quicker, more agile way of going forward. And I think that is a coalition of the willing at this stage.
The thing is, when you talk about...
Stop saying coalition of the willing!
Yeah, it is. That's not good, man. Call it literally anything else. Call it like the axis of big-dicked Chadness. Like, call it something...
the same lines over and over again.
Well, exactly, and we know, because the axis of... awesome. The coalition of the willing is literally just like George W. Bush evil. So don't do it. It's like, in theory, you should be able to call it the final solution. But you fucking don't.
Yeah, there are now very explicit connotations of what that means.
Exactly. So call it the coalition for the defense of Ukraine or something. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Don't call it that. Don't call it Operation Fuck the Ruskies. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there are certain things that maybe are best avoided, I think.
Yeah, quite
a recent conflict.
Operation Ukrainian Human Shield. Like, no. Stop.
To this. I mean, it is 4 months since the Chief of the Defence Staff sat in that chair and made it perfectly clear that he believed at this dangerous moment the government had to spend more on defence. This argument has been running for months and months and months. And it's only since Donald Trump has arrived in the White House that you've come around to that way of thinking. Why?
I think that the argument that we needed to spend more on defence started probably 3 years ago when that
it's taken you 3 years to realise it, some people might suggest.
We've been in power for...
Yeah, it wasn't until Trump forced you to, you bitch. You didn't have this in the manifesto. You've never talked about increasing defence spending in this way, ever. Until Donald Trump said, kiss all of my rings. And you did, willingly.
There was like some intimations about it, but the position before was, well, we'll only do it when we can afford to do it. And then Trump says it, and like, oh, we can afford to do it now immediately, and we can afford it because we're going to cut everything else, and we're going to slash welfare spending.
And, of course, it may still be challenged in court all the way to the Supreme Court, because technically it might be illegal. Because the David Cameron era piece of legislation expressly outlawed the cutting of international aid money for military spending. So even, again, being outflanked preemptively by David Cameron to the left.
And that's the thing as well, is that the justification is right, is that you can cut the budget momentarily if you can say exactly when that's going to be put up again. You know, budget can be constrained in certain ways, but they have no plan how they did it, because, you know, they did it so last minute as their plan for military spending that Annalise Dodds, the Secretary of State for International Development, was only notified of the cut the day before it was announced to the public.
Yeah. And then she, rather than doing something that might have been impactful, waited for the meeting to be over, and then no one was paying attention, and then resigned. Like, the New Labour is so spineless. Even when they do something vaguely principled, it's still bollocks. It's still like the most limp dick shit you've ever seen in your life. Even when it's good.
Absolute minimum, you know.
7-8 months now. I was only going to move on this when I had a credible plan with a clear date, and I could stand up in the House of Commons and say where every...
So you didn't. So you had years to plan, and you were definitely always going to do this, but you only had a plan 8 months into your premiership?
And 3 days before announcing it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely believable and credible. I definitely believe the thing he's saying right now. It's not a total lie at all. Fucking hell. The British political class should be fucking hanging its head in shame. It coughed up this hairball as Prime Minister. This is the best they could do. He is the highest of our current political class.
I mean, it's very funny that basically, again, the only reason he's there is because this trust happened. That's really funny to me.
Yeah. She's so bad. She lost to a lettuce and then lost to this vegetable. Brilliant. She lost to 2 vegetables.
Come from. Once I got to that stage, obviously I did that last Tuesday
and some people
made difficult decisions in order to get there. But that's a credible, fully funded plan, and I wasn't going to stand up and put forward a plan which wouldn't hold water. Too many others have done that. And that's not the way I'm going to do
politics. And some people in your own party, including one of your ministers who quit, said the way that you've come up with that plan is wrong, that you are funding the army off the backs of the poor because you're getting money from the aid budget. Annalisa Dodds resigned, saying the cuts will remove food and healthcare from desperate people. Is she wrong, Prime Minister?
Nobody wants to see that.
Is a friend of
So thank you,
mine,
Tina, too, for the raiding party of 17. Welcome. Please refresh your screens, drop a follow if you like UK-based socialist politics. Also, go and follow Kevin Logan. That's Twitch.
Nobody wants to see that.
Go Kevin Logan 1875 over on Twitch. Go drop a follow. Also, socialist, also from the UK, also excellent. Please go and do that.
And everyone go and follow Tina too. Otherwise, I will hunt you down like the dog
Both
you
streams,
are.
that is. That's Tina_TOO for Canadian politics.
Exactly, we were just talking about Canada.
Up.
Yeah. About how you don't buy Canada, you just invade and take that shit. Literally, that was the point that was being made. Albeit in an amusing fashion.
We got her. Victory is ours.
And she's an incredibly committed politician of the highest integrity. And I respect her hugely on this. Making the decision to cut overseas aid and development, that is not something I wanted to do. But when peace in Europe is in issue, when the security and defence of the country is an issue...
But you had this plan for years. What are you talking about? Why are you talking about this emergency as if this is the catalyst for it? No, you already had this plan for years and years and years. You were definitely going to improve military spending. You said so 2 seconds ago!
Choices have to be made. Now, what I'm going to do now is make sure that we go through line by line what spending we have on aid and make sure we've got our priorities right, because we've got...
And just make sure I only take food out of the mouths of brown children. Honest. But definitely what we can't do is not spend money on the rubber-sniffing dogs. They need to... They're integral to all of our plans.
Oh my god, it never fails to make me laugh. It's too funny.
It is brilliant.
Focus on Gaza, Sudan.
It's like skills wallets, but even dumber.
We're gonna also Keir's saying we're gonna focus on Gaza. I mean, you're gonna focus on selling weapons that bomb Gaza, are we?
Well, when he says they're going to focus, he means literally the laser on the laser-guided missile going through the cranium of Palestinian children is going to focus. That's the laser focus they have on Gaza. Yeah. I mean, I will not enjoy the gruel in the death camps when it comes, but because of course Nigel Farage will become the next Prime Minister, and we're both fucked. Let's be entirely honest about that. But I will enjoy seeing this cunt lose.
Yep.
So like,
I just hope there's a viable left-wing thing happening in lieu of Labour Party.
Hopefully.
And Ukraine, of course. But I also want to work in a more innovative way to make sure that we've got more development. I'm committed to development and aid, but I took a difficult decision. I took that decision because of the security concerns and defence of our country. And in the end, the first duty of a Prime Minister is to keep his or her country safe. And I take that...
Right, but that doesn't include the first duty to bow down as soon as the Americans want something. Because that's what's happened. It's nothing to do with the safety and security. It's because Donald Trump's got a boner for making Europeans pay more money.
Also, you say keeping them safe. I don't think, we're particularly safe from starvation and from poverty. Are we safe from these things, Keir?
No. Just no.
Duty extremely seriously.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer, thank you so much for coming in. I know you have to leave now, but going to go and see international leaders.
And that's our entree.
As good as an excuse
Yeah, now bring on the tea girl. Let's go.
I've ever heard for leaving an interview on time, but we appreciate you coming in, and I think viewers will understand why we focused only on Ukraine. So come back soon and we'll talk about all the other things that our viewers care about. Thank you so much. Well, across the BBC today, our
How did he talk for so long and say nothing? Literally nothing.
No, look, what have we heard from him? We've heard security. Try and get security guarantees from America. That's not happening. Protect Ukraine, and no one wants to see that.
Yeah, that's literally it. That was 20 minutes of conversation between journalist, award-winning journalist, and the Prime Minister.
Award-winning Prime Minister.
Award-winning Prime Minister, yeah.
Today's events as they unfold. Of course, always do let us know what you think of what is going on. You can email us, Kuenssberg@bbc.co.uk, of course, or if you're a social media kind of person, you can use the hashtag BBC Laura K, and our WhatsApp number is there.
Still never learnt the number.
Too. Let's get then to our panel who've been patiently listening.
Fucking wankers.
Piers, Christiane and Greg. Welcome to all of you. We've done things a bit unusually today.
The best person there is Christiane Amanpour, who's just a lib wanker. Literally, oh, God, we live in the
She's not
shit.
bad.
She's fine. She's not a bad journalist, but, like, it doesn't balance out these two right-wing fucking dick riders.
I mean, my favourite Christiane Amanpour moment was when she was interviewing Ehud Barak on CNN, and she was just like, hang on a minute, you built the tunnels underneath Al-Shifa Hospital? And he was like, yeah, we used to run the place. We built these underground areas of increased capacity in the hospital. And she was just like, hang on a minute, excuse me, what? And I was just like, mate, oh, precious little, oh, sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Prime Minister had to leave. I wonder there, Christiane, if we did hear a bit more about what is in this peace plan of Donald Trump, vague perhaps, but a line must be agreed between Ukraine and Russia. Then there'll be European forces guaranteeing that line somehow. What did you make of
It's still
what
very
you heard?
vague, but what Prime Minister said was much more clear. And I think the big story here is that he made it very clear that the whole alliance understands that Ukraine is the victim, that Russia is the aggressor, that the alliance stands...
Except, of course, the leader of the leading country of the alliance doesn't seem to know that, and has literally stated the opposite of that. So again, is just all of the journalist class just going to buy that line then, that America won't put America on the side of Ukraine? Honest, the Atlanticists are just going to fantasize about their world still existing, aren't they?
You live in blissful ignorance and just pretend that nothing's changed. Everything was as it was before, right? It's like, what was like, there's that moment where you cheat in a relationship, but just like, can we just go back to what it was like before now, right? We just pretend things are normal. I'm like, no, things haven't been irreparably changed, friend.
Yeah, exactly. That world that existed a week ago is dead. Oh, she's literally got a Ukraine necklace. Oh, God. Can you see that? It's the shape of Ukraine. God. Oh, that's cringe as bollocks, man. Don't do that. Like, I don't mind a lapel pin, a little Ukrainian flag or some shit, but that... Oh, God.
Ukraine, people have thought that President Trump stands with Russia in his public demeanor. The other thing he made very clear is we are on our own. Did you hear that? We're going to be doing a coalition of the willing. We're going to be discussing with the leading European leaders, and then we're going to be telling the United States. President Trump appears, according to the Prime Minister, to have bowed to the inevitable. He's not been able to deliver. He's not been able to get Putin to agree to anything, much less an enforcement force, and now Europe has to pick up the pieces.
So, Pierre, what did you make of that? I know you spoke to President Trump after the visit with Starmer, but before the then explosion.
Why? Why is Donald Trump speaking to this fucking random YouTuber? Is he also ringing up fucking, I don't know,
Well, to be fair, he's also like got a direct line to the Andrew Tate, to the Tate brothers to try and get them out of Romania. So basically, Donald Trump's presidency is entirely done through the medium of YouTuber.
Fucking skibbity toilet president, man.
They made Dan Bongino.
Yeah,
deputy chair of the FBI, right? Like that's the equivalent of like Nigel Farage making Sargon of Akkad the deputy head of MI5.
Literally.
President Zelenskyy, what did you make of what we heard from Keir Starmer there?
I liked it. I think the Prime Minister's had the best week he's had since he took office, and I think he's...
Well, true, but that's like saying, I don't know, someone in a coma has had the best week they've had since they've been in a coma. Like, they're still in a coma, mate. Like, it's... I don't know, he's not had a good week, ever.
Very right to not try and create more division between the UK and the United States. And it's not easy to deal with Donald Trump. I've known him 20 years. I've negotiated... I've had a worse scene with him shouting at me louder over an interview. where somebody had leaked stuff to him about negative things I said about him. So I've been in that environment, and it can get pretty hostile.
Right, but you're a random cunt and not a world leader. So I don't care that he shouted at you.
Yeah, you're a YouTuber who used to edit a tabloid like 20 years ago and then judged a talent contest.
Yeah, like you're nothing. I don't care what he says to you. Like, it doesn't speak well to him that Donald Trump can't deal with any kind of criticism, true. But like, and also again, behind the scenes, I assume world leaders are like fucking swearing at each other and saying, don't talk shit. Give me the thing, give me that bit of land, you prick. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. You'd expect that. It's behind the scenes. It's, you know, tough negotiation. But in front of the cameras, have some fucking decorum. I don't want to be too respectability politics, but like, you're supposed to be a diplomat.
Well, no, Andrew, I mean, even if from a self-interested perspective, right? Maybe don't make yourself look like a twat in front of literally the entire world.
True. But to be fair, like, Donald Trump, anyone who walks out the house with that orange skin, and I don't want to be too like lib, like, oh, he's Cheeto Hitler, but like, I mean this genuinely, anyone who thinks that looks good doesn't care about looking like a twat, and clearly has no one around him who loves him and will tell him that he looks like a fucking idiot, a spray tan clown.
Yeah, Trump is somebody who's just been begging for an intervention for like the last 30 years and no one's fucked up the courage.
Yeah, he's been a wanker since forever, and it's this. Look, it's the same with Baron Trump. You can it's the exact same thing. When wankers who don't care about their kids and are rich raise people, they become Donald Trump, and Baron Trump's on the same path, but this time with added incels on the internet.
Also calm down very quickly. I was struck by the fact the Prime Minister says he's been having conversations with Donald Trump, with President Macron. Look, you have to understand the American position in this and where Trump comes from and why I think things got fractious in the Oval Office. Yes, it was unedifying. It was also riveting, and it was also very revealing about where both sides are thinking about this. And I think the key thing with the Americans, they are sick and tired of being taken, as they think, for granted by Europe.
Well, let's talk then to one of those Americans. Greg, welcome to.
But no, they're not. They literally, they're the ones in charge of the military spending, and they've been able to dictate foreign policy to the entirety of the Western and Anglo spheres, right? For the last 80 bloody years. Yeah, they don't. You know, people don't take them for granted. They are literally the ones calling the fucking shots.
Yeah, exactly. You're not giving us stuff. You're buying us.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I've said this before. Okay, if you don't want to keep paying the price, you don't get to call the tune. That's it. That's what you've been doing. You don't want to spend money to protect Europe. Okay, well, you don't get to fucking tell us what to do then. We'll break away and do our own fucking thing. Prick, man. They want all of the advantages without ever spending anything on it. Tough shit. That's not how it works. China are offering us Belt and Road. Don't think we've not got other options. Parts of the Balkans are already fucking going for that.
Yeah, considering what's the aggressive trade policy that America look like they're trying to, trying to put forward. Yeah, well, China is the only obvious place else to go.
Yeah, okay. Well, you don't want to build roads and stuff. Fucking Winnie the Pooh wants to. Let's go. And if we have to give up all of our minerals to one of yours, at least we get something back with China.
Also, on the subject of China, this really has taken the Xi Jinping do nothing win memes to like a fucking thousandth other level, hasn't it?
No, really, it literally sitting back, cackling his bollocks off. But in both the Kremlin and in the Forbidden City, I don't know where the fuck the government is in China. But anyway, they're absolutely loving it. They don't have to do anything. Just sit back and watch it implode. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely perfect.
That's what's interesting, right? Is that whilst, there may have been some interference with Russia and like cybersecurity, all China have done with regards to soft power in the West is just, have like Confucius institutes and just get people to think positively of China through like investment or through cultural exchange or like things like that, right? You know, they control TikTok, they're poisoning the minds of the youth. They just want people to understand like that they built a hospital in 2 weeks. So this is a true story, but it's basically been pushed by Chinese propaganda outlets. But like, it's just they spoke to some influencers.
Yeah,
it's just like knowing the other shit, the kind of like interference that Russia does, like the propaganda interference they do with the cyber attacks and shit like that. And it's scary, bad China. I'm just like, they just want good economic relationships. It looks like to me.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think they are still. I think China, the Belt and Road thing, is still imperialist to a degree, but it's imperialism where you do get something back. It's not just like, oh, we get all of your diamonds and then we leave. No, it's like, okay, we'll cut you a deal. We'll build you an airport and we get you diamonds. But at least they've got a fucking airport or something. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's not entirely one way. And so, like, I don't like imperialism, but if you're going to do it, that seems like the most equitable way of doing it. And if your choice is you get something back with China, or you get fuck all back and you get your leader humiliated in front of the world like that, you're not leaving yourself much option, are you, America?
And that's the thing, right? Is that I think China have realised that they need to offer people something that they're going to acquiesce to. Like, even if you're doing it, not because you like have like some kind of altruistic desire to help people in the global south, right? But you can have influence that the West doesn't really want in these areas. And you go like, well, if we give them something that's beneficial enough for them, they'll just take it anyway. And that's both soft power and hard power, and a mutually beneficial relationship here, right? This is pragmatic more than it is altruistic, but at the very least it's far more agreeable than the very kind of hardball game that the West has played with the global south for the last 80 years.
Yeah. Also, it is interesting to see Europeans' shocked reaction when America for 1 week has treated us the way it's treated the entire world for the last century. Do you know what I mean? Like, Africa has been fucked over 20 times harder than this for centuries by Britain and America and France, and now we're getting a tiny taste of it and we're like, oh, they've betrayed us! No! Like, it's embarrassing. Very low.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's by the by. Hello there, Mixed Vivian Wolf. Everyone go and follow Mixed Vivian Wolf.
Do it.
Good to have you with us. You were a backer of Donald Trump. I think a lot of people in this country, well, we know a lot of people in this country, even the Prime Minister pretty much admitted it there, saw those scenes in the Oval Office and thought that is no way to behave.
No, that's not what he said. He said, no one wants to say that. That's what he fucking said.
Why did he
6
explode
times
like that?
Yeah.
Well, I think he was prompted by Zelenskyy. I mean, that was clear. I mean, it wasn't just a misstep by President Zelenskyy, but it was also a missed opportunity. And I think when he started...
Can any MAGA prick out there tell me what Zelenskyy did wrong? Like, he seemed pretty chill for the most part.
Like, he interrupted a couple of times, I guess, but it's a cultural difference, potentially.
Yeah. Also, Donald Trump is not in a position to be like, oh, you interrupted another person. Like, he's forever interrupting pricks. Like, it was J.D. Vance that, like, kicked it off. You didn't say thank you to me. You need to say thank you.
Yeah, J.D. Vance is the real villain of the piece, right?
Honestly, his mum trading him for some Percocets, art of the deal. She got the best deal of the lot. And that drug dealer was an idiot, because he's not worth anything. Just saying.
Criticizing Vice President J.D. Vance, and that became a criticism of President Trump. I think it was a big mistake.
What did he do wrong?
Hey, okay, hang on, Greg.
Hang on,
With due respect.
You want a criticism of J.D. Vance, right? He's a cunt, okay? You want some criticism of J.D. Vance? He's a massive fucking twat. There you go.
True.
Enjoy that.
Yeah. What fucking Zelenskyy did was, like, I've said thank you 1,000,000 times. And J.D. Vance, but you didn't say thank you to me. Like a fucking emo kid being like, do you ever feel like you're just being completely ignored? You never even get a thank you. Oh, fucking hell.
Gillian Keegan.
Yeah, embarrassing. Hello there, Rizzed Gen X. You should hit the follow button. You should. I believe you can, and I believe you will. And also go and follow No Justice MTJ.
Absolutely. And remember, go subscribe to Kevin Logan's channel as well. And Kevin has PayPal. So to be able to give Kevin money, you can do so, and they won't even charge you anything.
True. And I'm a pauper now. I have to travel by, like, peasant carrier. It's disgusting.
Members of the public.
I had to go to the football on the bus, and I wasn't even planning to get drunk afterwards. It was disgusting. Ugh, some people. Honestly, people don't understand the struggle.
It was Vice President Vance that started the bad bit, so to speak. Well, apparently the first bit of the presser or the spray was going fairly well, fairly under control. But President Trump and J.D. Vance have flipped the actual narrative on its head, blaming President Zelenskyy for his country being invaded, calling him a dictator, delegitimizing him and Ukraine, when everybody knows they're the victim.
No, I really disagree. And in fact, and if you look at someone like Dan Crenshaw, who's not a MAGA guy, not a big Trump supporter, he's making a really good point in the last few weeks. You have to flatter, you have to at least...
I could make some comments about Dan Crenshaw now, but last time someone made those comments, things didn't go well.
I'll just say someone fucked his brain out via his eye hole.
Least get Putin to come to the table. What the Prime Minister just said is that President Trump wants peace. And so there was a great 40 minutes of dialogue. It also showed how well Prime Minister Keir Starmer did on Thursday.
No! Oh my God, you fucking melters, you pair of cunty melters. No, it shows you how much fucking cum he was able to guzzle.
I mean, that's what Greg means, though, right?
Well, yeah,
as a Trumpist, all he cares about is getting maximum deference from global leaders towards his daddy.
Yeah, fucking embarrassing. Honestly, he humiliated Britain with that shit. Oh, I've got a letter from the king for you. Honestly, we shouldn't have let him back in. When he arrived back at Stansted, you go, no, get back on your plane and fuck off again. You're not welcome here anymore. I don't care if you are Prime Minister. You're a humiliation to this nation. Leave.
I'm offering you a second state visit. Imagine, right? An unprecedented second state visit, and it's for fucking a man who... I mean, if it was on the Epstein flight logs, like, come on.
Well, exactly. Well, we know he has access to planes. Yeah. So he can get here on his dead friend's plane. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, exactly. Fucking Roosevelt won 4 elections and didn't get a second visit. And this wanker gets 2. Didn't the Queen literally say behind the scenes that he was the worst president she'd ever met?
I don't remember that, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if that was true.
There was something behind the scenes, all the rumbling, like he was just insufferable.
Didn't he start like walking in front of her as well?
Yeah, exactly. Like he just started fucking wandering in front of her. Like, now don't get me wrong, I don't give a fuck about all of that. She's a person, like all this, like, oh, she waves so gracefully. She's waving out of a window. That's not a skill. Shut up. A person can walk in front of her. What the fuck? What's she going to get blown over if he farts? What's wrong with that? I don't give a fuck. But, like, the protocol is that you're not supposed to. This doddery old bitch is supposed to be at the front of the fucking queue, so you have to stand behind a 90-year-old woman as she crawls across the fucking gravel stone in the baking heat. But you have to do that. And he went, nah, fuck this. I got golf to play, dickheads.
You know, there are very few things that I will give Trump the benefit of the doubt for. But you know what? Fair enough. Ain't got time for old ladies.
That's racist. The fuck am I talking about? Hello, thank you, Andy Carter, for gifting a membership to Kazumi Fowler. Jesus Christ, that is not a name. Firstly, I didn't even know they were subscribed to my YouTube channel. And that is a name I have not thought about in a decade or more. Fucking hell.
Who's that?
It's a very old atheist content creator. A very odd chap. Like I don't even know if does he still do stuff. Hang on, I'm going to check. I'm going to go onto his fucking channel.
What's the name?
Kazumi. Go to channel. They used to go by Kazumi Fowler. He still does stuff. Oh, you know, he's still going. Okay. He's alright, don't get me wrong, he wasn't a bad dude or anything, but I just didn't even know he was subscribed to my fucking channel. There you go. No, he's got a video called "No, I'm Not a Right Winger." Okay, if you say so. Anyway,
saw how President Zelenskyy did not
what are you looking for on your phone?
I'm looking for a conservative commentator in the United States, Brett Stevens, who after this shameful display in the White House said the following. If Roosevelt had told Churchill to sue for peace on any terms with Adolf Hitler and to fork over Britain's coal reserves to the United States in exchange for no American security guarantee, it might have approximated what Trump did to Zelensky. And to what you've just said, he also said...
I'm quite enjoying Armanpour absolutely cucking this guy to pieces, because he wants to jump in and say some shit, and she's like, no, I'm just going to barrel through you prick.
Well, it's interesting. It's very American, the way that they approach these things. You wouldn't see this if it was all British people, though. It'll be very kind of, polite and stuff. Whereas the American ones, they're so used to every single media figure just being combative because that's what their network wants them to be. They're just like, yeah, no, fucking gloves off, mate.
Yeah,
I'll talk shit about you to your face.
It's the Fox Newsification of commentary, I guess.
Exactly.
And the good thing about that is you might become fucking head of the military or whatever, if you do. America's fucked. Anyway, thank you, Swirly Curly, for gifting 5 subs. Much love. And thank you, Crowman, with the message effect. Much love. Who says, sorry, my fucking country's pathetic orange ass clown and his sidekick Smokey Eye. Fair enough. And thank you, James from the Wanternet. For, you're not even called that anymore, are you? It's now James from the Internet because you're a partner. Fancy. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm Kevin Logan, a fucking terrible streamer. I am.
A big raid.
Yeah. You can hit the follow button. Or not. It is free, though. So,
do it.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Also, you should go and follow my co-hostess with the co-mostess, who is the up-and-coming voice of the British left.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. I'm giving it the big sell.
I'm a political strategist extraordinaire.
Like Ash Sarkar, really. But she hasn't released a book recently.
It's true. I don't write, unfortunately. I just talk.
You don't write at all, ever?
Stop it.
Are you literate?
No, it's a text-to-speech, right? What we do. It's what we do.
Well, there's no saying that she didn't write her book via text-to-speech. That's possible.
True. She may well have done.
Very good for her. If she grokked that entire book, good for her.
Ladies and gentlemen,
grokking the book is what Rachel Reeves does.
True. That's how Keir Starmer comes up with his fucking policies. Thank you.
Whoa, Kev. No one wants to see that.
No one wants to see that. That's the new. It's not an issue.
We got him. Victory is ours.
We've got fucking bowler hat man as Prime Minister. Good God. Thank you, Nellis D, for resubscribing 11 months, and thank you to the new cool people who have just joined. Only the cool people have joined. And if you want to be one of the cool people, you can also hit the follow button. It's literally free. Literally.
Why have you not followed already?
Well, we don't look to the past, okay? No one wants to see that. We just look to the future, and yeah. Are you illiterate? Too much, Kev, undermining our... No, I wasn't suggesting she was illiterate. I was just doing a joke based on she said she never writes. And I'm like, can you write? Is that a thing you can do? I don't know. But anyway, who cares? We're on a hype train. If we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will finger American hegemony because it is dead.
Dead and buried.
I don't know how I will do. Probably I'll have to go equidistant. You know what? I'll go to Iceland. It's halfway. That'll do. I'll go and check out Reykjavik.
It's funny, really. It's really funny just how much Khrushchev was saying. We will bury you to the United States, right? And all you had to do was just elect a fucking reality TV star and he'd do it for them.
Yeah, they do. Honestly, all they had to do was elect a fucking idiot. And not like a dangerous idiot like Reagan. Because he was like a serious idiot. Just elect a self-interested fucking idiot. Fool, man. But he didn't. He focused too much on growing corn, the dopey bastard. Anyway. Yes. Thank you, Swirly Curly with bits, and thank you, Nellis D. And Crowman, you can't cheer one bit and then ask me to read a long-ass message. It's one bit, my dude. That is cheeky as fuck, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Anyway, Christian Armanpour is absolutely pegging this dude, so let's go.
Whatever one might say about Zelensky's playing his cards, and I agree, could have not taken the bait, either by failing to behave with a degree of all-fours sycophancy that Trump demands.
Okay,
So that's
Greg,
where we are.
What do you say to that? Because it was clearly a real explosion. But
it was a complete explosion. And I think, again, it was a missed opportunity for Zelensky. He could have gone to Washington.
Whoa. Dickhead. You can't say it was a real explosion and then say it's better. Like, for a start off, President Trump is the host in that situation. He is in control of that situation, right? He's supposed to be a diplomat. You're not supposed to have explosions. He didn't have an explosion when he met Putin. He didn't have an explosion when he met fucking old journalism destroyer, bin Salman. Didn't have he fucking happily danced a jig over the border into North Korea with Kim Jong-un. But Vladimir Zelensky turns up and all of a sudden he's a petulant little bitch. He's supposed to be the leading diplomat of the free world, which is obviously now Keir Starmer. Leader of the free world. True. Right? But he's supposed to be that in theory, and yet a mild bit of criticism and his side piece starts mouthing off and he gives a little bit back and he can't take it. Did you just have a go at my fucking missus? Look at her. Her eyeliner's fucking lovely. You know? I don't know why President Trump turned into a Cockney white boy there. That's not at all what he sounds like.
But no, your idea of like a no-nonsense trader type with a short fuse is just Del Boy, is it?
Basically, yes. Yeah. It is. It is basically Del Boy. I know you're a big... I don't even know what it's called. A Yugoslavophile? I don't know. Did you know that Only Fools and Horses was massive in Yugoslavia?
I'm sorry?
Did you know that the Only Fools and Horses was really big in Yugoslavia?
No.
Yeah, genuinely. I'll send you the link. There's a documentary thing a guy did. He was from, I think he was from Croatia or somewhere. Anyway, yeah, no, it was really big because obviously they were starting to allow more Western media in during the 70s and 80s. They were breaking down barriers, and the guy goes through, and I didn't even realise this. It kind of does look like a kind of Yugoslav world that the people operate in. They live in essentially what amounts to a commie block, right? The tower they live in is fucking grim as anything. They live with an old relative, which is very common in the Balkans. The police are always viewed as incredibly corrupt and on the take, and everyone's just trying to financially survive. It's a kind of shabby world that you imagine the people of Yugoslavia inhabited in the 80s and 90s, really. So yeah, and so there's literally a documentary of David Jason walking around Belgrade, and there are big fucking murals of Del Boy and stuff on the side, the ones in Northern Ireland where it's William of Orange or something, and but with fucking Del Boy. Fucking David Jason 20-foot high mural in downtown fucking Belgrade. Mad. Yeah.
That is extremely funny.
I think it's amazing, isn't it?
With a bit of thanks, he did thank the president or thank the Americans at the beginning. President Trump was very flattering, very cooperative with Zelensky at the beginning.
Very flattering. He'd literally, the first thing he said when he got out of the car was, "Oh, you've dressed up then." He literally had a cheap little dig at him as soon as he got out of the fucking car. This was so obviously a pre-planned ambush. They wanted to have it out with him because he wasn't bending the knee. They want all of his minerals, and he went, "Can you take 30% of them?" "No, we want all of your minerals.
We want all of the raw earth." He said raw earth, didn't he, a bunch of times?
Because he doesn't know what any of that means. He doesn't know what any of that means. He was asked what his opinion on AUKUS was, and he had to literally ask, "What does that mean?" Which I just want to go to all of the Atlanticist people and in America, or I suppose it would be Pacificist in Australia, whatever. And just be like, see, this is how well the special relationship is actually viewed by the Americans. He doesn't even understand what that phrase meant.
Literally, the America forces Australia to be one of their military bases through shit like Pine Gap and whatever. And they're just basically the person in charge of this country that has got a huge amount of strategic military power over you to use you doesn't have a fucking clue how any of the relationships with you work.
No. I'm surprised when it was clarified that that was the deal between Britain and Australia and America. He didn't go, and what is Australia? What is that?
Honestly, this is him asking what AUKUS is an even more embarrassing moment than Gary Johnson saying, what is Aleppo?
What is Aleppo? Why especially of that is, in his head, he thinks it's a Aleppo. As in, like, a singular Aleppo. The headcanon for me is that he didn't even realise he was talking about a place. He thought the Aleppo was like an animal or something, and he was being asked about a singular Aleppo.
What would you do about Aleppo?
Yeah, well, what is a Aleppo?
Aleppo.
Like it just
or like a leper, like someone with leprosy.
Yeah, what do I do? Well, I mean, I'm in favour of treating lepers. Yeah, that's as long as they're not near me. That's fine. Yeah, just have a hospital for the lepers. Dickhead, man. Honestly, ask him about weed or cryptocurrency. Oh, he'll talk for days. But you ask him about Aleppo. Aleppo is the singular form of leopard. That is true. Yeah, the Aleppo. Anyway, thank you to Wayward Historian and Nellis D and It's a Morgan for Bitty Bits and all the rest of it. But thank you for the hype train. I've got to fly to Iceland now, assuming the volcanoes don't fuck us again, and finger a concept. There's better ways to spend Monday, I guess.
Again, the first 40 minutes, both were playing to their domestic base. And I think you saw that President Trump was definitely playing to the MAGA base.
I think a deal is more likely.
Well,
absolutely.
I've got to say, do you believe, having spoken to Trump, what Keir Starmer believes, which he said repeatedly, he believes that Donald Trump...
I'm torn here, because in a way, I can understand perfectly if Zelenskyy, because apparently behind the scenes, the Trump people are like, if he apologises, if he publicly apologises, we can reset the relationship. Okay, whatever. And I understand perfectly well if Zelenskyy does that, because he's desperate, and this is his entire life's work basically comes down to this. So I get that, but I also don't want him to do that. I don't want him to debase himself and his nation like that, because it's embarrassing that Keir Starmer did that, and we are not having bombs dropped on us. On top of it, do you know what I mean? So it's. I can understand if he bends the knee and goes back and does his fucking minerals deal and is able to, carry on, but I don't want him to have to do that.
One thing I did think of was that, most of the minerals that's required are actually in the occupied zone, right? Like a lot of the key even the key rare earth minerals are in the current zone that Russia are trying to annex, right? So maybe Zelenskyy thinks if he says, you can have all of it, you can have all of the rare earth minerals if you really want, you just have all of them. And Trump will go, but what about the ones that are inside the Donbass? I would like those ones too. They were the better ones. They're the best minerals you've seen. I love those minerals. And you go, you'll have to stop Putin from taking over because that's where they are. So if you want to have them, convince him to let us have those areas of Ukraine.
I mean, to be honest with you, Trump would probably more than be happy with Ukraine being totally taken over, and then he can just buy the fucking minerals from Russia. He'd probably be okay with that as well, as long as Elon gets his fucking lithium for his batteries for his cars that no one wants. That's all that matters.
Especially given that I think that Putin did say that he was happy to also do a minerals deal with Trump and America as well.
True. But that can't happen because we're going to put up the economic roadblocks to Russia because of the 4-point step plan of the leader of the free world. Honest.
The missions or the steps or the plans or the milestones or the
concepts of the Steppy plan missions.
The big question is, when will there be the Ukraine strategy Quango? Right?
Oh, let's go. Let's fucking go.
Ukraine is organised a task force of European leaders.
Yeah, if anything, today's meeting was the beginning of the Quangification of the Ukrainian war. Let's go. The Quango will save us all, honest.
wants a lasting
100%. And also, you've got to remember, Trump is trying to get Putin to the table too. And so if he comes out whacking Putin as people want him to, everyone in Britain wants him to go, Putin's a disgusting dictator. If that happens, Putin's not going to come to the table. We may not like it.
Well, come on. Like, Piers, do you genuinely think that whatever people say about Putin, if they're trying to, you know, they're trying to schmooze him, do you think he's dumb enough? This man who's been this kind of monolithic figure in international and Russian politics for 2 decades, or over 2 decades. Do you think he's so dumb that he'll go, well, Trump said a bunch of nice things, therefore I'm just going to assume those are all sincere? No. Well, clearly Trump is saying what he thinks about this situation, because again, Putin's not going to be stupid enough to just be hoodwinked by just lying about your opposition.
Exactly. Do you think Putin gives a fuck what people say about him? He's had people calling him every name under the sun for, like you say, 2 decades now. He don't give a fuck. He'll do the best deal he can in any situation. He survived. He's a disgusting Machiavellian piece of shit, but he's survived. In a treacherous world full of oligarchs who would happily stab him in the back if they could. He doesn't give a fuck about any of that. And Trump's just yet another thing he has to deal with. A much easier thing than many other instances. It's so bizarre that this, like, and you don't have to, there's a difference between being diplomatic and voting with him to strictly say, no, we do not condemn the invasion of Ukraine. Even if you wanted to like slightly change tack, you can abstain. You didn't have to vote with North Korea. You didn't have to do that. You decided to do that.
Yeah.
Particularly edifying, but Trump is trying to straddle getting Putin to the table, getting Zelenskyy to the table. I actually think the genius move in all this has been this minerals deal, because as Trump has said, it comes down to security guarantees. If Americans
you can't think we've melted more than we can possibly melt, he's managed to melt the melt. He's managed to make a super liquid out of the liquid that already melted. You fucking prick! What are you talking about? The genius bit is the bit that's the complete fucking roadblock to any solution to this situation whatsoever. You know that bit where they're trying to extort a leader who's being fucking bombed? Yeah, that's genius. That's 4D chess. I'm not Keir Starmer. I'm Piers Morgan, YouTuber extraordinaire.
Contractors and business people are all over Ukraine getting these minerals out of the ground on a constant rolling basis, and America's making tons of money from it, which will appease Trump's base because they will see it's not costing the money to be there. Is it going to be enough to deter Putin?
It's got nothing to do with it, but look, it doesn't matter what Trump does, his base are with him. Literally, Benny Johnson's out here being like, oh, Donald Trump's on the phone. What an absolute monster. What a beast he is. He never stops. He's on the fucking phone. It's not that impressive, mate. Like, whatever Trump does, they'll just support it. Trump could do a complete 180 on this and be like, actually, we're funding this completely to the hilt, nukes for Ukraine. And his base would just go with them. They don't give a fuck.
Speaking of Benny Johnson as well, right? Speaking of Benny Johnson, like, I know there's a bunch of people, generally, who have kind of expected, all the Russia stuff, it's all a hoax. It's all a hoax. There's no connection between Russia. And it's like, I'm sorry, right? When loads of very explicitly pro-Trump people were hired to work by the Russian state for millions of dollars through Lauren Chen, and also there was Paul Manafort, and given literally everything we've seen them do whilst in office with regards to geopolitics and Russia, I'm sorry, just like, they're Russian agents. Can we just admit that these people are Russian agents, right?
That's exactly
I know it's a bland liberal opinion because libs just kind of presaged it out of nothing before there was evidence, but there's clearly evidence that this is the case.
Yeah, Tim Pool and all these people, like, for legal reasons, we have to say they were not aware of the source of the funding. Honest. But, yeah, they're Russian agents. I mean, they just fucking are. Yeah.
I mean, what is funny is Tim Pool saying, well, I didn't know anything was going on here, right? I didn't know anything was going on with all the money. I was completely ignorant, right? He's so stupid, he's accidentally a Russian agent, which is the funniest bit.
Yeah, that's worse. Like, I get it. If you're just a stooge and you're doing it for the money, there's a direct, like, that's not embarrassing. It's disgusting, but it's not embarrassing. Whereas if you accidentally become a fucking Kremlin agent without even knowing it, you're a sleeper agent to yourself. How do you not know you're a sleeper agent? It's like the most amazing cover ever. The secret agent who didn't know they were a secret agent. It's beautiful. Fucking idiot. Farage too, a lot of people are saying it. I don't know that Farage is necessarily that person. He's a Trump stan. And this is part of the Trump thing. He's just a British MAGA politician. I don't think he gives that much of a fuck. I don't think he's being paid necessarily by Moscow. He's like an added bonus. He's like, buy two, get the third one free. You buy 2 American politicians and you get yourself a cheeky Farage thrown in for nothing. Like, Farage isn't getting money, necessarily, that we were aware of, but he's going along with it because they've bought Tim Pool, who puts pressure on Baron Trump, who puts pressure on Donald Trump, or whatever, you know?
That's the thing, is a lot of the ecosystem that's being formed here. You don't even need that many people who are explicitly in the pocket, right? Because the only person we genuinely know was in the pocket of the actual Russian agents is Lauren Chen, right?
Yes.
There's Lauren Chen and Paul Manafort. Those are the two like actual connections that we have, right? It doesn't take that much, given the kind of groupthink it's easy to prevent just by having a couple of people spreading certain ideas, right? It's not very difficult to be able to foment a broad position where everyone starts agreeing on this shit.
You only need a couple of the people at the front of the human centipede of right-wing shit, and they'll all get it. Eventually, it'll go through all of the stages of the human centipede of right-wing news, and they'll all chew down on the same shite. Yeah. That's the thing. When you've got no independent thought, as seems to be the case with these rightoids, you only need to infect a few of them and then send them back into the hive, and the entire hive will be infected with it.
Exactly. Like, they all only... Most right-wingers don't have, like... They don't iterate their own opinions, right? A lot of it is just, I heard somebody else say it.
Well, I'm still brought back to the example, and I don't know if you remember this, of what happened in Sweden last night. If you remember that from the Trump's first term. No. Where he'd seen some kind of one of those dumb pieces about, like, Muslim rape gangs in Sweden on Fox News the previous night. And in his head, he turned that into there was some rape or something that happened in Sweden last night, which it wasn't. Even the broadcast was like about a thing that happened a year prior or something. But in the right-wing sphere, they saw something that they vaguely remembered from Fox News, and that became fact to them. And he literally mentioned this in like a press conference, what happened in Sweden. Nothing happened in fucking Sweden the previous night. Literally nothing. It was just a normal, basic-ass night. But in Trump's mind, it had become this whole thing. They believe whatever they want to believe based on the shite that's being shoveled into their faces.
Yeah.
Ukraine again, if there are Americans on the ground. And that's the key point.
That's what worth pointing out too, right?
He's not sure that's enough.
Liberals do this too. When they've got like pro-Western opinions, these are all things that they've not iterated. They just accept them as wrong. Yeah. They just, they completely swallow propaganda and then regurgitate it uncritically, right? That's why you get the kind of sycophants who support Keir Starmer despite them previously having disagreed with those positions, right? You saw the bit I did about James O'Brien the other day, where he just said, so a caller called and said, well, we should take the foreign aid budget and give it to the military. And James O'Brien said, you're a fucking idiot. That's so stupid. I'm going to put you in idiot's corner. And then later on in the stream goes, oh, well, actually, Keir Starmer said it, so now I'm the idiot. And I'm just like, well, how about you have the principle yourself first? Like, if you think it was stupid when someone who called into LBC said it was stupid, why don't you think it's stupid when Keir Starmer does it? Right? No, it's because you've been told that this is where the interests of, the geopolitical bloc that you've been indoctrinated to support merge.
Because he's a client journalist. He's a Keir Starmer client journalist. That's it.
Yep, true. And of course, Keir Starmer, the political project of Keir Starmer is to align the Labour Party with broad Western interests, right? Mm-hmm. Because they had to wrestle it back from the internationalists that were in charge of the party before, the ones who didn't want to align themselves with a bloc geopolitically.
Yeah, the Nazis. Yeah.
I found that debate, it was unedifying, yes, but it was very revealing for that collision point. Is it enough to have the contractors on the ground digging up the minerals? Will it deter Putin?
The answer is no. I've covered war and peace is not enough.
It may not be.
Well, let's hear then a view from Ukraine, of course, because the country at the
And to be
centre
fair,
of
these
watching.
4 people you see on the screen, Christiane Amanpour is the only person who's ever been to a fucking war zone. Like, she's done actual reporting from front lines. Whereas the other 3 have never gotten a callus on their hands from a hard day's labour.
All of this.
I know, to be fair, wanking off Boris Johnson might have given her a callus. That's possible, I don't know.
What are you saying? Are you saying that the award-winning journalist Laura Kuenssberg might be in some way compromised by the fact that she loves Boris Johnson so much she accidentally on purpose gave him the questions?
Well, accidentally on purpose, yes. Yeah, I am suggesting that, definitely.
Oh, yeah, I 100% believe that she
did say that he was thankful for America's help. He spoke to Fox News late on Friday night. But he does want Trump to stand more firmly by Ukraine's side. So what does it feel like for Ukrainians right now watching on? Ivana Klimpur-Shchadze is the head of the Committee on Relations with the EU in Ukraine. So what needs to come next?
I think it's a plan of action that is desperately needed, and it's pretty urgent. So we have to go from words of very much appreciated support that have been pouring out over this week and later over this 24 hours. But at the same time, I think it's about finding the resources where which can be used in order to invest in the defense production, both in Ukraine, Europe-wise, and in procurement also in the United States. I think it is important to ensure that there is a readiness to step up all these efforts on the European level, and also about the steps. How do we try to re-engage the American leadership on the right side of the history?
But with all this going on, what does it feel like to be in Ukraine at the moment?
You know, we are living in the situation when every single day we have to hide in shelters from the Russian whole of country attacks by rockets, by the Shahid drones and different types of drones, attacking our civilian residential buildings, our infrastructure, attacking obviously the front line, making sure that we Ukrainians are exterminated as a nation and as a people that have their own culture, their own.
Now, just remember, I think it's only fair to point out that we should feel sorry for the people that this is happening to because they're white. Whereas this exact same thing that's happening in Gaza, we don't need to feel sorry for those people because they're not white.
True, because feeling sorry for them would be anti-Semitic, of course, because then then you'd have to play footage of people who might have like a second cousin twice removed who was friends with someone at the wedding of a Hamas member.
What, Jeremy Corbyn?
Oh yeah, true. Yes, yeah, Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, exactly.
Jeremy Corbyn might have voted for Jeremy Corbyn, and that just can't. That's basically Hitler. Yeah.
But yeah, basically like having a Nazi tattoo.
Literally. Oh, did you see Kanye West, the dopey bastard, walking around LA with the fucking swastika t-shirt? And not a subtle swastika, like a big black swastika across the whole of his chest on a white t-shirt.
I mean, I didn't see it, but I'm literally 0% surprised.
Like, how the fuck did Britney Spears get put into a fucking conservatorship, and yet that prick's still like free to make his own decisions? He's broken.
Madness.
He needs fucking care. He needs to be sectioned or something. What the fuck? God almighty.
To develop and live, actually, the very basic right to live. We are tired, exhausted, but very resolute people. We want to live. We want to our children to build and create and to enjoy life, and that is what we are going to try to fight for. And we hope that all the nations that believe in that right of every sovereign nation will be standing with us. if we fall, if we fail, it won't be our failure, because we've done more than anybody could have imagined with your backing and with your support.
Yeah,
so
I've got to say, I didn't, at the very start of this, I didn't expect Ukraine to survive. Without being too lib or naffo about this, the level of chadsmanship and balls they showed in the face of all of this has been outstanding. I'm just ashamed that now that the Western imperialist machine has had their pound of flesh, they're going to sell them out, as I said they would. That's the problem. You get into bed, a marriage of convenience with these people. They don't give a fuck about you. They've sold out bigger fucking fish than you. Gaddafi, Hussein, all of them. They'll throw anyone under the bus when it suits them.
Hope that everybody understands that there is a next line of those who will have to fight if Ukrainians are not capable of defeating Russian Federation. So it's about lives, your lives, on the European soil, and it's about the prosperity and the democracy, the security that everybody has been enjoying after the Second World War. I think they are at threat. They are under attack with different instruments at this point, but they might be under attack also by military means from the Russian Federation and its accomplices.
And actually,
Ukrainians.
That's another good point in chat about them giving up their nukes and stuff. All this tells the world is just another example of exactly the lesson that North Korea learned. Get yourself some nukes, and the West doesn't fuck with you.
True, exactly. Like denuclearization is now something that it becomes even more difficult, because the whole point about Ukraine's position was that they would give up their nuclear warheads for political and geopolitical neutrality, and then just fucking went out the window as soon as Russia decided that they wanted what they wanted.
Yeah, look, again, the examples I used there of Gaddafi and Hussein, both could have gotten nuclear weapons. They both had, the possibility, in the same way that Pakistan and India did, through the AQ Khan network, right? And decided not to bother with it. Even though they then lied and said that Saddam Hussein did have nuclear weapons. Mad. Anyway.
That's the dumb thing about the whole, weapons of mass destruction shit, which is that the whole point of having weapons of mass destruction is so that you don't have a land invasion. And then, so of course, if they did have it, we wouldn't have done a land invasion because they would have used it against us.
Yeah, exactly. That was the one guarantee. As soon as American boot hit that sand, you knew they didn't have nuclear weapons. Because no one fucking invades a nuclear armed state. It doesn't happen. And don't come at me now with like border skirmishes between India and fucking China. That's about like a line on a map. No one's really invading anyone there. The Chinese are not rolling into fucking Delhi. Jesus. Anyway, and so it just tells to every fucking dictatorial regime, every fucking oligarchy that exists on the planet, get yourself some nuclear weapons, lads. There's no advantage to following the good path. So follow the terrible path. Get yourself some nukes and you're safe. Insane.
Yep, absolutely.
Fucking insane. We've incentivized people to do the thing we don't want them to do. Brilliant.
This won't be there.
Greg, who are the American businesses who are lining up to get their hands on Ukrainian minerals, and why are they so keen?
Well, I think it's been the case for a long time. I mean, we've been preparing for this for 3 years.
Well, who we want.
Exactly.
Of the post-war investment opportunities. So it's not just in mining, it's in natural gas, of course. Ukraine is the second largest holder of natural gas in Europe. They've got a ton of lithium. They've got a lot of the largest deposits of uranium in Europe. So this is an opportunity. It's not just President Trump that's been talking about this.
Isn't it, though, a bit like blackmail?
Well, it was one of the reasons Russia invaded it.
Yeah. It's not blackmail, it's extortion. Yeah. Because you don't understand what blackmail means, do you, Laura Kuenssberg, you fucking idiot? No, it's extortion is what's happening here.
Somebody, former defense minister, said to me a couple of weeks ago, if this was Ronald Reagan, he would want to be supporting Ukraine to protect democracy around the world, rather than Donald.
Oh, yeah. Ronald Reagan, the great supporter of democracy. Ask literally all of Latin America.
And the Caribbean, let's not forget.
And the Caribbean and fucking Afghanistan.
Angola.
Everywhere. Literally everywhere. Fuck off. Oh yeah, Ronald Reagan would really wanted to have supported democracy. He was just so Alzheimer's ridden he forgot to ever do it.
Which is why he was so intent on supporting democracy. It's why he backed Pinochet. It's why he backed the Taliban and why he backed Pol Pot.
You know, the good democracy lover, Pol Pot. Yeah, that cheeky little scamp. He was big on democracy. Fuck, I mean, Jesus Christ. The manufacturing consent machine has not burred this hard in quite some time. This is outstanding work from the award-winning journalist.
Donald Trump wanting to do this to get cash out of Ukraine that's been invaded by an aggressor.
You could do both. He is not taking assets out of Ukraine. He's looking to develop a partnership with the Ukrainians. Both countries will...
No, he's not looking to take assets out of Ukraine. He's just looking to take raw earth minerals to a place that isn't Ukraine, that used to be in Ukraine, but it's not in Ukraine anymore. But that's totally different than him taking assets out of Ukraine, honest. Because reasons.
Yeah.
It's good for business. It's good for the Ukrainian
It's
people.
good for business. It's a disaster-tunity.
I mean, that's literally it. I mean, never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see, you remember from 2023, they had that big conference about how they would convince Ukraine to, like, become super open free market so that American corporations could make the most out of rebuilding it for profit, right?
Yeah. Because what the initial shock treatment didn't do, this new wave of shock treatment will definitely improve the lives of the people of Ukraine. Honest.
Yeah.
Or a potential misstep on Friday, it can be fixed. I think it will be fixed. There's a lot of private equity interest, not just minerals and mining companies, a lot of PE interest from America, also from the Middle East. So
yes, there are lots of fucking bloodthirsty ghoul scum in various sectors of the economy. Yes, vultures in various sections of the economy wish to pick apart the corpse of Ukraine. We are very well aware of that, you fucking evil bastard.
And that's the thing, right, is that there is plenty of scope to use the ruins of a country to create a better society, right? We did this after the Second World War. It doesn't have to just be a fucking disaster class capitalism fucking hellscape nightmare of exploitation. You know, we can actually, there could be a real chance to build something better, new and better, and we are not going to get that.
But there was the threat of communism. And so America put money into Europe rather than taking money out.
Yay.
Whereas now there's no threat of communism. You can all go fuck yourselves. No more social democracy for you.
Great opportunity. That's President Trump's style. Same thing with the Abraham Accords. This is, let's do business instead of kill each other.
Christian,
and I think that's a really noble cause.
Maybe then other leaders just misunderstand Donald Trump. They just need to understand what he's interested in order to achieve what
but that's
would be
all well
a
and
positive.
good. We know he's a businessman. We know he's a transactional. Remember I told you on your first show, it'll be all transactional all the time. This is it. Ben Wallace, the former Tory Minister of Defense, said to me this week, it's extortion. That was his word. Before they redrafted
Ben Wallace, the certified Humpty Dumpty impersonator. He looks like a fucking egg.
And it became a little bit more signable. It's extortion. He reminded me that Britain had been loaned weaponry and armaments during World War II, and in 2006 they repaid it. Yeah. He reminded me also that...
Taxes I paid back two things. Firstly, the debt from the Second World War, and secondly, the debt that we incurred in paying, in gaining loans to pay back slave owners for recompense for the loss of their property when we outlawed slavery.
Excellent.
That didn't end until 2012 or whenever the fuck it was. Like taxes,
really recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, taxes I paid went to paying that shit back. You're very welcome, black people. It's okay. It's okay, lad. You don't need to pay me back. It's fine.
Yeah, we bargained for your freedom for you. Be grateful.
Gratis. You haven't even said thank you personally to me. Every single black person should personally say thank you to me. Otherwise, you know what? I'm going to be very upset about it. And I might need to go and spend some time
internationally.
I might need to go and spend some time with the couch in the dark. Just saying.
Trump's figures about what the US is giving are untrue.
Or the
It's just not true. Half of which at least has come from
We've got to think of the big picture. That's why I like what the Prime Minister kept saying. This is about getting peace in Ukraine. Everybody knows this war's at a stalemate. Nothing's really happened on the battlefield for the last 8-9 months, except more and more people getting killed. There's no real change in the territory, and it's pretty clear.
Which is why we shouldn't have drip fed them the fucking thing to bleed Russia dry and given them enough weaponry at the start so they could have realistically won. But that's not what the war machine wanted. The war machine wanted to bleed Russia dry.
Yeah, or at the very least, give them enough military capacity so that Russia felt it necessary for them to cut their losses and engage in negotiation. Right, that's my point the whole time period. I wasn't like, no, we need to we need to be pumping up military contractors' share value. No, what we need to do is give them enough military firepower so that Russia doesn't expect that they can just roll through into Kyiv immediately. And if they don't think that they can do that, they're more likely to come to the table and negotiate, because they would be economically, militarily, and demographically bad for them, because Russia is losing loads of their able-bodied young men who should be out there being fathers, lovers, workers, citizens, but instead they're fucking corpses, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And it's so galling as a lover of history that in the same fields where the Ukrainian and Russian people, as the Soviets, fought and removed fascism, cleansed those lands of the fascist beast, their grandsons and great-grandsons are now slaughtering each other for nothing.
Yep.
It's, oh God, it's grotesque. The betrayal of both the Ukrainian and Russian people by the powers that be is, I think, will be remarked upon in history, and not in a good way.
What's going to happen? They're going to allow Russia to retain most of the territory they've taken. That sticks in my gullet that they're going to do that, but that is where we are with the reality of this war. Trump wants peace if he does a transactional business deal where he could remember in America.
No, he doesn't want peace. He wants capitulation, and that isn't the same. Peace would be an actual, amicable deal that would be workable. What Trump wants is Vladimir Zelenskyy to just agree to whatever Putin wants so that he gets the big win. So he can stand there and shake the hands like fucking Bill Clinton at Camp David and have that moment of, look, I'm the big peacemaker man. Look how fucking awesome I am. That's all. You don't give a fuck about the people of Ukraine. You don't give a fuck about what Russia's doing to those people. We've all seen the fucking pictures from Bucha and wherever else.
And Kramatorsk and places like that.
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck? Anyway, yeah.
Like the continued support of billions of US dollars at a time of a cost of living crisis
it's all
going on this war.
Plowed back into the United States economy. Excuse me.
Also, hang a minute. Whoa. This is all ex-military hardware, right? You say, it's loads of money that's been spent on them by America during the cost of living crisis. Yeah, it was money that was spent 15 years ago.
Yeah.
This was money that was spent during fucking Obama era budgets, right? Possibly even Bush era military budgets, right? This is old tech. And yet, at no point does Piers ever make exactly the same case over the actual real money being paid in cash to Israel right now to fund their, not just fund their military, but to fund their universal healthcare that America doesn't even fucking have, right?
Yep.
There's that, that bit in Peep Show where it's Christmas and Sarah gets like the cashmere sweater and the spa break, and Mark gets his dad's old shredder.
Yes.
I feel like that's the Americans' relationship, geopolitically with Israel and Ukraine.
Yeah, and it wasn't very Christmassy of him.
No.
He says that it's a load of old stock that's been sent to Ukraine.
Why does that matter?
And money.
Why does that matter?
Because it's good for America.
But if
it's good for America.
If it brings peace, why is it wrong? But it's also good for America.
Peace is great. But the question is on whose terms? And everything we've heard from Trump is it's on Putin's terms. Will Putin agree?
Honestly, Christian Amanpour wants to deck him. I just saw that arm grab. Like, she wants to fucking lay this fat twat out. But again, she's going to just stay calm. Because she knows that men are too emotional for this. Really, men shouldn't be involved in politics. They can't control themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
To a coalition of the willing.
Can Ukraine get peace without America?
Can you see Donald Trump being impressed by the UK and the French coming forward with troops, a coalition of the willing to guard a peace line, and that would be enough for him?
President Trump will love that. That's what he's been arguing for years.
Yeah,
it's why he
offloaded
pressed
onto
down
Europe.
the Germans in 2018. And I think it depends on the biggest economies in Europe and the nuclear
Which is actually why today is so important.
We should pay a lot more for our defence.
Okay,
America pays more of its GDP than any other European country.
It's interesting how much.
Step up.
Okay,
that was their choice.
Where's the penny pinching? How do we afford this? Come on, this is what we always do, right? If you want to spend a single penny on anything ever, where's the magic money tree? But no, all of a sudden,
every single time, you must detail exactly where in the grey book you're going to pay for it. It doesn't matter whether it's Piers Morgan or Keir Starmer or award-winning journalists Laura Kuenssberg or any fucker, right? Any fucker who tried to tell people, Jeremy Corbyn, you can't do communism broadband because that would cost every single fucking penny of the world at the same time. No, as soon as it's, we need to be able to, replace NATO military spending, even though we already spend over the allotted percentage of our GDP on defence as per NATO rules, it's fine. Magic money tree immediately just trying to appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, you never have to justify spending absurd amounts of money on things that, again, in theory, we're not really supposed to even use. Look, if we get into a war with Russia, I suspect that ends rather quickly and finally, in relatively short order. I don't think Russia are going to be put off by us buying a few more tanks, in all honesty. I think Putin's got bigger things on his mind. Like getting the old band back together, He don't give a fuck if we've got a few more tanks. Or if Ukraine's got a few more tanks.
Also, isn't it funny how, outside of apparently John Healey a couple of years ago, no one ever really talks about how, the military, we need to talk about efficiency savings, We need to spend the same amount of money, but get more for it. We need to get more for money for what we're spending on the military, right? All of that private sector subcontracting that we've done to capita for recruitment. Maybe we'd save money if we did that in-house and we'd have a more efficient military.
Yeah,
but no one ever asks for efficiency savings. It's only ever fucking spend infinite more money.
Yeah. Now what we need is a G4S Navy. It's the only solution. They'll cut out all the extra fat. You don't need safety precautions. That guy got nearly all the way to the Titanic with a fucking joystick. So, come on, we'll be all right.
We need to spend money reanimating Stockton Rush so we can have our own Department of Military Efficiency or Dome.
Let's go.
Up Europe, and then Trump, I think, will calm down, and this will get sorted.
Trump will calm down
by the end of the day. But we're grateful to all of you for your insights, because this week it really does feel like the world has been somehow shifting on its axis, and it is hard to believe.
It has, yeah.
All this
undoubtedly
has happened so fast.
Prime Minister Starmer, you've been terrific in our discussions. You're a very tough negotiator, however. I'm not sure I like that, but that's okay.
He wasn't a tough negotiator because he'd have been angry. I'll translate the few that I'll translate. Keir Starmer gives an average blowjob, but at least he tried. It was fine, and he cleaned up afterwards, so good for him. But I appreciate the effort, but you're still not getting a trade deal.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. This is going to be great television, I will say that.
See, he's just a reality TV show host who should never have gotten anywhere near this.
Yeah, literally.
At all. I like the old Simpsons line when Homer says he wants to be president, and Abe says to him, when Homer's a kid, and Abe says to him, are you joking? This is the greatest country on earth. There are systems in place to stop idiots like you from becoming president. Which is a true but a terrible thing to say to a child, of course. But the problem is, the one sort of workaround on those systems that keep idiots from becoming president is if you're very rich, because money is power. And Donald Trump, therefore, gets to be president, even though he's literally got shit between his ears.
We are thankful and sorry for this. I mean, we wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I'm very calm that we will have it.
Well, Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, is here. Well,
who? Didn't
Kemi Badenoch? Remember, she's the one who hacked Harriet Harman's website.
Oh, yeah, I remember her. Yeah. Okay. Oh, she was the one that said that eating sandwiches was queer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
she used to be the Women and Equalities Minister, where she didn't actually do anything about, the problems with fucking the level of rape in this country and the fact that it's de facto legal.
Oh, yeah, no, she's the one that was Doctor Who's biggest nemesis since the Daleks. Yeah? I think so. I think that's how it works.
welcome. It's great to have you with us on such an important day. The Prime Minister described putting together what he said would be a coalition of the willing, and we don't have all the details, but what we understand is that there would be some UK troops, some French troops available to guard and to maintain a peace in Ukraine after a deal had been done. Is that something the Conservatives would support?
Well, I think we need to know, as you say, exactly what that means. Last week, I did ask him, when he talked about putting British troops on the ground, where was the money coming from? What were the guarantees around that? We certainly shouldn't be doing it on our own. And, you know, looking at the scenes from last week, it's really important that this summit...
Actually, you know what's interesting? Today, on this issue, when we're just specifically discussing Ukraine, where they know Nigel Farage doesn't take the position that everyone else takes on this, right? They know Nigel Farage is a bit more pro-Putin than everybody else is.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. It's interesting that they would usually... They've got the leader of the opposition, they've got the Prime Minister, and they've got the leader of the fourth biggest, or the fourth party in terms of vote share, right? Biggest in terms of number of seats in Parliament, but they usually do by vote share in polling when they approach how they want to put people on these panel shows, right? And they but the way they would always have like a direct hotline to putting Farage onto TV whenever they get the opportunity, when they talk about woke stuff or when it comes to NHS privatization or whatever that might be. They're desperate to have him on. As soon as it comes to something where there is like an explicit state line on this, right, over and above the government of the day, Nigel Farage, nowhere to be seen on this panel. Interesting. Yeah. They've got Ed Davey instead just to say the same things that Keir Starmer presumably will say.
Yeah, what's the point of Ed Davey, really? I ask you.
Goes well. We support him in that. This is a key issue of national interest for us. There is not a difference between the Conservative and Labour parties in terms of the extent of support that we have for Ukraine. People know what we did under Prime Minister Johnson and his successors, and we want to make sure that the Prime Minister is successful in helping Ukraine, but also in maintaining our national interest at all times.
What did you think when you saw those scenes in the Oval Office on Friday night with President Trump berating President Zelenskyy?
Honestly, my heart went out to President Zelenskyy. I watched it and I couldn't believe what was happening.
See, she wins because she didn't just go, nobody wants to see that. She actually had like an almost human response. Almost. I won't go as far as to say it was actually the response of a Homo sapien, but like it was almost there was an emotion there. It was bad. I felt bad for Mr. Zelenskyy because that was a bad thing that happened, and so already she's better than Keir Starmer, which is fucking tragic.
Yep,
he was being
and someone who is essentially a complete non-entity, you know, who's so much of a non-entity that as the leader of the opposition, she's in like third place.
Yeah, but she's not. She's not the leader of the opposition. Nigel Farage is.
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah, because literally, the closer they get to the election, the more and more defections you'll get. I guarantee you, he ends this parliament with 10+ MPs.
Yeah,
because the Tories are going to jump ship.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll see more defections as the parliament goes on.
Yeah, and she's so ineffectual, and literally, like, they're playing into the same game that the Democrats played with Trump, in that he relies on the oxygen of publicity. So when they keep referencing him all the time, they're playing that game. But I understand why they're doing that, because to not do so makes you look weak. Right? So like they're all like Keir Starmer has a dig at him every week in PMQs. The SNP leader keeps calling him the Putin stooges, which is true, but like, if you keep referencing him all the time, you give him far more air coverage than his 5 MPs would, you know.
I think there's like a tactical decision to be made for Tory MPs, right? If they get to the point where, you know, enough of them want to defect to Reform UK that they could make Ed Davey the leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
Potentially,
yeah.
That's in their interest, right? The kind of Tories who would vote for the kind of people who vote Tory but not vote Reform, they could potentially be persuaded to vote Lib Dem if they had a big enough platform. So tanking the Tories so badly, the Lib Dems become like the centrist, kind of fighting for the centrist votes with the Tories and Labour, and Reform are the only populist force outside of that. That would absolutely be in their interest to try and get that done. It's quite interesting because then they can have themselves as the insurgent right-wing party, the only right-wing party against Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party, you know, in the public perception, of course, because they're all right-wing. I think it'd be really interesting to see if they got enough defections, if there were enough by-elections that caused Reform UK where the Tories could be behind the Liberal Democrats. That'd be a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Have we had any news as to the jailed MP who isn't going to be jailed now on appeal or whatever? Is he going to... Presumably he will be recalled, right? And have we had any news, updates on that? Because I genuinely want Ashworth to run for that seat. And I want Reform to win. I know that sounds bad, to have another Reform MP in Parliament and all the rest of it. But I specifically want Ashworth to lose one of the safest Labour seats in the country.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That would be
if
hilarious.
Ashworth is the candidate, that would be so unbelievably funny. Like it would. I don't think I could possibly put into words just how fucking hilarious that would be.
It would
However,
be
I just hope that there can be an organised, like, you know, left-wing movement to try and kind of go through the middle on that one, right?
Yeah, that would be good.
Whether it's an independent or a Green or some kind of Green independent, like, unity candidate.
Yeah, that would be nice, but like just as long as Ashworth loses, because he is a fucking gobshite. Although to be fair, in a way, we never saw him when he was in Parliament, and he's on TV now. He's not. So maybe just getting him back into Parliament, he can leave our lives. So I suppose it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what happens. Thank you, Suzzled Snake. 12 months you've been with me. Seek fucking help. That is terrible. You've wasted a whole year. Good God. You're a legend, but like, I'm worried for you. Not Kanye worried, but, you know, worried.
I think we should conduct these sorts of difficult conversations in front of the cameras. And we have to remember that President Zelenskyy is a hero. He is the person who represents that strength and resilience of the Ukrainian people.
Oh, yes, if Ashworth and Mason have to have like a runoff thing for the Labour candidacy. Oh
my God.
Oh, honestly, I'm on the edge here. I need to...
My body is ready.
It's perfect.
And whatever differences and difficulties we might have during negotiations, we need to be able to set them aside when everyone's watching, because the only person who would have liked that would have been Vladimir Putin. Do you think it was an ambush? I mean, there have been suggestions it was some kind of...
Sorry, I've forgotten already. Who is this person again?
Don't know. No idea.
Oh, fair enough.
Sorry. Thank you, Portles. Our rivers are already full of Ashcroft Mason runoff.
True!
Set up to make President Zelenskyy be humiliated?
No, I don't think it was an ambush. I think that both parties are working for their respective national interest, and they seem to be speaking at cross purposes. I think sometimes having English as a second language is not necessarily helpful. During all the trade negotiations I had as trade secretary, most of the Eastern European countries had an interpreter there. I'm not necessarily sure that we should be doing more than the set piece bits on camera. I don't think that was helpful. But we need to make sure that we can get the conversations back on track. It is critical that Ukraine is at the table for any negotiation. We should be negotiating a peace settlement, not a surrender. We need to make sure that President Zelenskyy feels that he has autonomy. They are a sovereign country, and the principles that we're defending...
I don't know who she is, and I'm glad I don't know who she is, because this is fucking awful. This is just boring.
Boiled like a baby otter.
Well, it's stuff that we all knew already, because they were the the broad opinion of the entire country. And I think this is really, really large. I think the broad support for Ukraine is pretty big. I saw loads of people, like a bunch of lefty people going, I can't believe Greens would tweet out solidarity with Ukraine. Like, that's all they tweeted out, was solidarity with Ukraine, not we love Zelenskyy. Isn't it great how he cancelled elections and banned political parties and restricted trade unions, right? Like, they didn't say any of these things. They just said solidarity with Ukraine. Because, correct, we do show solidarity with Ukraine. They've been invaded, right? But they didn't say anything about the political situation of Ukraine. Just, maybe it's bad when people get invaded,
Yeah.
And people saying, oh, you can't believe you're saying this. And it's like, well, even if they weren't pro-Ukraine, which clearly they are, most people in the Green Party are pro-Ukraine. Even if you weren't, it's fucking electoral suicide to not be at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
For good reason, I think.
No. Putin is about as popular as a case of the clap. Like, there's no one in their right mind. Even fucking Farage has to, like, tone it the fuck down. When he's at CPAC, he'll suck his dick, obviously. But, like, when he's in Britain, he has to tone that shit right down. Because even he understands, like, no one wants fucking Putin. No one thinks Putin's a good dude, or that what Russia's doing is okay. No one. Like, yeah, of course that's what the Green position should be. We're internationalists, aren't we? Are we not against the imperialism? Or is it okay if some countries do imperialism?
Well, exactly right, isn't it? And again, there's nuances to every single geopolitical situation, right? And you have to be careful with the things you say and the positions that you take, right? But just solidarity with people getting invaded is such a milquetoast obvious statement that it shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be controversial at all, right? And the thing is that I think a lot of leftists really do not appreciate the broad coalition that Jeremy Corbyn brought together on a bunch of different things, load of compromise positions to try and build like this big movement for progressive social and economic change. And, the leftist elements had to compromise on things like NATO and things like a bunch of other geopolitical policy. And they're not willing to compromise any further than they already have done. And I think that's a shame, because there could be a big unified movement if people didn't infight as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, James Holmes, for 5 gifted memberships. Much love to you. Don't forget, you can, if you are generous enough, you can give money to both me and No Justice MTG in the form of bits and subs and subscriptions and super chats and all of that jazz.
On the freedom of Ukraine and sovereignty.
Given what happened on Friday, though, do you stand by saying Donald Trump is a force for good in the world?
America is a force for good in the world. Donald Trump is the president. I think.
Can I get some lols in chat? I'm not even going to analyse it. We don't need to. You all know it's the dumbest thing ever. But just get some lols in chat for America is a force for good in the world.
I mean, when was the last time it did anything good?
Hitler?
Yeah.
Basically.
Gulf War? Slightly?
I mean, they weren't doing it for good reasons, but I suppose you could say arming Ukraine now. But again, they're not doing that for good reasons, so I'm not entirely sure I want to class that in there. But yeah, like, that's about it.
Yeah, so few things.
Yeah.
Plenty of incredibly awful things, like, everything in the 80s and lots of things in the 90s.
Like,
and in the
they're
2000s.
They're literally like doing the genocide in the Palestine right now. Literally doing that. But apparently force for good.
Force for good, yeah. Force for good. Leader of the free world.
Yeah. No, that's Keir Starmer. He's the leader of the free world.
That he is, yes. So I'm not changing that. And I think we need to be very careful. Lots of people have personal views about Donald Trump, but whether or not you like the president or the vice president is
what the fuck is this hovering into the left of screen? This show is rubbish. Honest to
high quality award-winning journalism.
Unbelievable. Like, again, it makes me feel fine because, like, I'm a one-man show running on a very tight budget. So any technological issues I have is fine. This is one of the leading news-gathering organisations of Earth, and its award-winning fucking flagship Sunday afternoon politics show, and it's clumpy fucking shoes on the floor, rustling microphones, and cameramen getting in each other's way. Fucking rubbish.
the US. That is something that is absolutely vital. If people are worried about what we're spending on defense now, if we don't have an American security guarantee within NATO, if we lose them, we're going to be spending a hell of a lot more. We need to make sure that America does not disengage. It is in their interest for peace now. If we all get dragged into an escalation, America will get dragged into it eventually. That's bad for all of us.
Do you, though, believe that President Trump knows who the villain is? And I ask you that question because you wrote on social media, we need to remember who the villain is. But we all heard Donald Trump say, oh, you know, I don't want to give Ukraine an advantage. I'm for Russia and I'm from Ukraine. I'm kind of in the middle. Do you think he knows who the villain is, to use your word?
He's a radical centrist.
The US, has a long history with Russia. But we have more recent issues. You'll remember the Salisbury poisoning, for example. So we are on the continent. We know what is at stake.
You know one of the Salisbury poisoners is in the Russian parliament?
I did know that, yeah. I mean, you mentioned it before. You know, it's weird, you know. I thought he was a real sightseer.
Well, that's the thing. He's travelled the world. I'm glad they've got such a worldly wise individual. He's seen cathedrals all over the place. Yeah. What a lovely chap.
And I think sometimes, in the heat of the moment, things can be forgotten. And when we say that we need to remember who the villain is Vladimir Putin invaded a sovereign country. He could end this war today by withdrawing, and we must not forget that.
But do you think?
And we must not forget that Benjamin Netanyahu invaded a sovereign country, and he could stop that war by leaving whenever he wanted. Sorry for that anti-Semitism.
The question is really, do you think President Trump sometimes forgets?
Hang on a minute. He could stop. He invaded a country, but I thought the history begun on October the 7th. There was the Hamas. They did the thing with the paragliders.
Yeah, no,
that's when history. There's nothing before that could have caused that at all.
I don't remember anything. No, I think the Earth literally started on that day, didn't it? I think so.
Yeah, true. All of history.
Yeah.
It's that.
I think President Trump is practicing his own kind of diplomacy. I understand it was
he was shouting at the man. Literally, I can't imagine a less diplomacy situation than that.
See, I mean, maybe Jan Halper was right. You can't have a proper negotiation if Volodymyr Zelenskyy is in the room, because otherwise J.D. Vance has a fucking temper tantrum meltdown.
That is true. He's very much J.D. Vance's kryptonite.
Also, yeah, good point, Ben. Weird how the Tories talk about how all the Russian oligarchs and the Salisbury poisonings. And I was like, well, wasn't that literally whilst the Tories were appointing the son of an ex-KGB agent?
And they've had dark Russian money sloshing around their coffers for years.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
and they're still allowed.
But apparently, Jeremy Corbyn saying maybe we should wait for all the details to come out before we start accusing international partners of crimes and blah blah blah. That's being a Putin stooge.
No, it's true, absolutely. And that's the thing as well, is that they allowed London to be the money laundering capital of the world, to allow just Russian money to just pour into the capital.
Literally just buy our football clubs. Yeah.
Exactly. Our football clubs, our real estate, our financial assets, right? Just churning through the financialized sector in London. And not a peep. And then suddenly, and Russia bad now. Especially since everyone was happy to ally with Putin to fight Islamism, as Tony Blair said.
But there's one good thing about Russia buying all that property in London. Imagine how bad the traffic would be if people actually lived in those houses. Do you know what I mean? Central London's basically empty. Just empty houses owned by Russians that no one actually lives in. If all of the cars outside those places were also on the roads, it'd be a nightmare.
The point that Piers made very well, that he needs to get both sides to the table. And so just criticising willy-nilly is not necessarily helpful.
But
I think that's what's happened.
It's about whether or not the American president, who, as you say, is trying to bring this thing together, but about whether he sees the two countries as equivalent, or whether he sees one country as the country that must be protected and the other as the country that ought to stop, that should never have started this in the first place, which is how every other Western country sees it.
Well, I cannot speak for President Trump. I can only speak for the UK and how we see things, and I've been very clear.
Whoa. You don't fucking speak for us. No. You don't even speak for your own party. They fucking hate you.
It's
You're
true.
nothing.
True.
You don't speak for anyone.
Well, the only reason she's there is because James cleverly supporters in the Parliamentary Conservative Party accidentally, tactically voted for her too many times.
That was amazing. Literally fucked himself out of the race. It's the perfect summation of modern Toryism. The most inept wankers. How did it must be the neoliberalism, because it's the only thing that's changed. They took the most successful, well-oiled political machine of the entire world. It won election after election for 200 fucking years. And they've raised, in one generation, neoliberalism has raised a crop of the most inept wankers you've ever seen. Fucking Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak. Who the fuck? Boris Johnson? Are you fucking joking? They used to have like Gladstone and fucking Churchill and shit. Like, I mean, not saying they're perfect or anything, but they were leaders.
Well, I think it is pretty much a neoliberalism.
She's going on about like, oh, if you don't eat steak, you're gay. What the fuck are you talking about? You're attacking Doctor Who. What?
Well, and I think it is because of neoliberalism, really, because wherever you think about the Conservative Party as a political force before 1979, right? You know, the people in the party, they may have had their very specific views. They were very kind of Burkean in their viewpoints about the natural state of hierarchy, the natural being of society, right? But they fully believed it. They were bought into this. And they wanted to govern on behalf of the people, to put that into practice because they believed it was best for everybody. And so at the very least, they wanted to understand how they could best engage in governance to be able to put that into practice. Except now they don't do that. They're not, since the all ideology that isn't just neoliberalism has been stripped away from politics, they're all just fucking grasping, greedy, kind of desperate, kind of bought and paid for actors and careerists.
Yeah, absolutely.
All in it for themselves. Like, they don't even have an ideology other than just me get more money and my friends get more money, rather than trying to think that what they believe is best for society. Because they don't even understand, they don't care about, they don't even think society exists.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin is the villain.
You agree with the government that defence spending must go up, but you've written today it must hit 3% of national income by the end of this by the end of the decade.
Okay, but that's literally the government's plan. Why are you calling for a thing that was already announced by the government? Have I gone mad here? Why are they mentioning that like that's a thing? That like the government have already announced that will happen, that they're going up to 2.5, and by 2030 it'll be 3%. So you're just announcing a thing that the government already announced. What? Oh, this is fucking nonsense.
And, you know, that would be a huge increase, even though the percentages sound like they're quite small, but that would be a very significant increase. Where would you be willing to...
Well, they are quite small compared to what it was. It was, I think, at the height of the Cold War, it was like 9% or something, wasn't it?
I think so.
A high number like that, like many times bigger than it has been for the last 20 years.
Yeah, so at least significantly more than... Yeah, right, yeah, absolutely.
Parts from public services.
And interestingly, the Prime Minister's car still travels around with 2p pieces in the glove box.
Really?
As a kind of silly thing, because back before mobile phones, if the Prime Minister was somewhere in the country, they had to like order a nuclear strike or something like that, they had 2p pieces so he could go to the phone box and ring Downing Street and like order a nuclear strike or something. Mad little fact from bygone days. Whereas now they're probably going to have a nuke a country of your choice button on X, the everything app.
Is that people already enjoy, or things that people rely on, or potentially raise tax in order to get that extra money? I suspect you're not going to go for the raising tax.
So this is a fundamental question. When I was in cabinet, we talked about getting to 3% by 2030, and we couldn't make the numbers work. We need to.
So there's another thing you fucking fucked up and couldn't do. Like, you don't have to post all of your L's. You can keep some of them to yourself.
Find a way to make the numbers work.
We tried to do a thing, but we were so shit we couldn't. Next question.
because the world is changing very quickly. And
I'm just
with
glad
things
she'll
like
never be
defence,
Prime Minister.
You can't make a decision at the last minute.
It's true.
It takes years, well beyond Parliament, to actually get the equipment produced. People will not start making the equipment unless they know we're going to spend the money. We're not ordering dresses here. We're ordering tanks, missiles, new technology
not
that
ordering
is not even on the
dresses.
books yet.
So where do you get the money from?
So that requires fundamentally economic growth. And the problem we have now is that what Labour is doing is reducing growth, not increasing it.
But where would you get the money from?
I'm speaking now about what the economy needs. I am not in the government.
I'll ask where military spending is coming from.
Yeah.
There's a magic money tree.
The magic money trees for the guns and the bombs and the tanks. We're not talking about hospitals or schools here. Don't be silly. You don't need to justify the spending. It justifies itself because reasons.
We will help them to get there. But what I'm not going to do is make spending
Like,
plans.
seriously, Laura, this is the kind of line of questioning that gets a journalist's car exploded. Okay?
It's award-winning journalism.
Award-winning journalism.
Access to the books anymore. We've talked about making savings on development. I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister now agrees with me. I remember when he was in Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet and they were talking about disbanding NATO.
But if you want to get to 3%, you'd have to be...
Jesus Christ, the Jombly Crumbles syndrome would just... Long Corbyn really is real, and it affects the brains of these fucking clowns.
Willing to look at other
yes,
options.
Of course we have
and
to.
you said you support the government.
Yes, of course we have to. But what I'm not going to do, is make policy on the fly. This sort of thing.
Or at all, apparently.
Yeah, you literally said you didn't want to do policy, and your own canvassers are quitting from canvassing because they literally said we can't canvass if there's no fucking policy.
Yeah, because people will ask us, "Oh, what's your policy on a thing?" And we can't tell them because we don't have one.
Requires real thinking. Let's start looking at what we can do. It's not about making an announcement on breakfast TV. It's about us setting up task forces, looking at the economy.
Okay, announce it on evening TV. What the fuck? Announce a policy, for the love of God. The problem with Keir Starmer getting away with what he's gotten away with for the last 5 years is that then sets the precedent. That politicians in the opposition will just realise that it's all managed decline and it's all fucking neoliberal hell from the get-go. So don't give a policy, wait for that government to become so unpopular that people would happily trebuchet the cunt into the sun, and bingo, you win. Except, of course, Nigel Farage is coming up on the rails and is about to fucking leap over all of you. You dopey bastards.
What can we do?
But your Shadow Defence Secretary told us
statement?
last week that you should look at welfare in order to make savings.
Yes, and I said that in my letter to Keir Starmer as well. But that's not going to deliver what could be up to 100 billion. We have to
100 billion. So they've been quibbling and been like, oh, 1.5 billion to make sure pensioners don't freeze. No, we can't do that, obviously. And now they're just like, oh, it could be up to maybe 100 billion extra.
10 skrillion.
That's nothing. Like, just 100 billion gazillion. Have we tried investing a gorillion? Literally, just make up new numbers. Fucking hell. And it's again, Laura Kuenssberg has done more journalism by just going, where'd you get the money from for that? Once, than basically the entire political class. Honestly, she is award-winning. In a very bad field, to be fair, but, it's still award-winning.
And like Keir Starmer has gotten away with not being asked it. It's Kemi Badenoch who's being asked about how she's going to pay for things.
Yeah, she's gotten more of a grilling than the actual Prime Minister. Okay.
How it is wired, how we do procurement. We should be looking perhaps at 10-year budgets for defence, so that we're not just.
Well, I will say on the point of 10-year budgets and 100 billion, I do think it's a little bit overkill, if you'll excuse the phrase, for us to sign a 100-year agreement with Ukraine. 100-year agreement. That's a bit much. Like, you are signing, Keir Starmer, the British... No, I know international fucking treaties can just be broken. Everyone knows that. The rules-based order was a joke from the start. But in theory, Keir Starmer, you are signing this country up to an alliance with a country that your grandkids won't see the end of.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of an imposition myself. I don't think it's your right to be able to do that. 10 years, fine, 20 years even, but 100?
I think at least with regards to we'll do it as long as we can afford to and is necessary for. It gives you the option of just stopping if it becomes totally unaffordable.
Yeah,
right?
a rolling, ongoing thing until one party decides they don't want to. That would be fine or whatever. Or if you do, like I say, if you do want to do a set one, 10 years. 10 years is fine. That's okay. That's reasonable. You want a longer term guarantee? That's fine. 10 years. 100 fucking years is a piss take. Don't get me wrong. I support Ukraine, and I'm more than happy for us to be partners with them in 100 years' time if that suits. But we don't fucking know what's going to happen in 100 years or even in 20 years. Mad shit.
Oh, actually, Ben Sharp made a really good point in chat that she said we need to increase our GDP through growth to increase the level to which we're spending. But no, it's a GDP percentage metric that we're judging here.
Yeah.
Like if you increase the GDP, then the percentage you're currently spending will drop because GDP is bigger. So you have to spend more to keep the same percentage of GDP. Like this is fucking tautological nonsense.
Yeah. And of course, having that as a percentage of GDP makes us something of a mockery of it NATO-wide, because 2.5% of Estonia's GDP might buy you a tank. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't seem like if you're, no offence to Estonia, again, I've got no problem with defending Estonia, a peaceful democratic nation. I don't want them to be overtaken or anything like that. But basically, if we spend 2.5% of our GDP, that's a lot more, and you're going to expect us to have to defend you at some point potentially. You know, it's an odd situation, but I suppose that's collective defence is collective defence. Except, of course, that NATO was never about collective defence; it was about fuck the USSR.
Yes.
Literally, the USSR applied to join as a way of proving that, and they were rejected, of course. Which, like, is just that's good banter. Because they obviously knew they were going to get rejected.
No, they were memeing before it was popular.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, they were top keck.
What's going to happen till the next election, but much longer term. That's something that I'm willing to work with the Prime Minister on.
Are you going to give up your opposition to the Chagos deal? Now President Trump has appeared to back it.
Yeah, true. Don't you love the sovereignty? We've got so much sovereignty and independence that we can now do with our own land what we wanted to do initially because Trump has said we can. Brilliant. Fucking amazing. With so much sovereignty. I'm drowning in sovereignty over here.
So just don't get Kenny's Badenoch to fucking bang on about the Chagos Islands again. God, she's woman possessed.
Yeah. If it's not the transes, it's Chagos.
Literally.
He said on Thursday, I think we'll be inclined to go along with your country. I have a feeling it's going to work out very well. So if the American president has given it a green light, is there any point you carrying on resisting it?
I don't work for the American president. This is about UK national interest. It is not in our national interest to give away the Chagos Islands and pay for the privilege of doing so. That is taxpayers' money. That is money which the Prime Minister seems to have confirmed is coming out of the defence increase that he has just announced. That's terrible. He did not deny it when he was asked. So we will not stop our opposition to the surrender of the Chagos Islands. We will continue.
Surrender. Surrender. Like, motherfucker, no one knows what the Chagos Islands are. No one cares. Really.
And and the whole point about the importance of the Chagos Islands that everyone keeps talking about is the access to Diego Garcia, the military base, right? And the current deal that is going through maintains Britain and America's access to the military base that they say is important for national security. Yeah. Oh, well, Mauritius is allied with China. Well, they clearly aren't allied enough to put their foot down over the fact that we would have an opposition to China's military base on their sovereign territory as part of this deal.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like, I mean, clearly the Chagosians are the ones who should be having independence themselves, to be able to govern themselves. But obviously that's not on the table. But the ICJ overruled that it's Mauritius.
Yeah. The Chagos Islands is a chain of islands in the Indian Ocean, Grim Reaper, which was technically sovereign British territory because we stole it. That's how empire works. We just went there and went, no, this is ours now. What do you mean there are people already here? Oh, you mean our subjects? Yeah, that's fine. and the Americans built a big military base there. I say big, it's not actually a big, but it's a military base.
Yeah.
Geostrategically important military base on Diego Garcia, which is one of the main islands, and so the sticking point of us handing this over to Mauritius, which again was adjudicated by the ICJ, I think, did the thing. The sticking point was, would the Mauritius government be okay with the continuation of that military base? Because if not, the USA were never going to allow this to happen because we don't have sovereignty. And Mauritius went, yeah, that's fine. So now the only person who is against this is this fucking no mark, this absolute non-entity, who apparently is the leader of His Majesty's opposition.
Maybe there are a bunch of reasons you could oppose the Chagos Islands deal or whatever, but I'm sorry, even if there is a reason, I don't think there's a good reason, but maybe even if you think that there is, there's a cost of living crisis. The NHS is on its knees. There's so much that's actually genuinely really important going on in this country that what happens with the Chagos Islands is of no fucking concern outside of what the Chagosians want themselves, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And her pushing this as if anyone cares. Even people who are like quote unquote patriots don't give a fuck about this. Like the Daily Mail tried to push this and their readers were like, we don't care. So they stopped. It's not in the headlines. No one cares. Like it's people are like, I can't afford to feed my family, so they're not going to give a fuck about giving away some tiny islands a million miles away. No one cares.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer, this question too, and I think people would be interested to know. We know from viewers getting in touch with us and general public reaction, a lot of people feel quite alarmed by what's happened in the last few weeks. Lots of people in this country feel a real affinity for Ukraine. Lots of people have taken Ukrainians into their homes in this country. And do you think people are wrong to feel scared at the moment when they see all this turmoil and questions being asked about our long-term security?
I don't think people should feel scared, but I do think we need to stop being complacent and assume that things will always be fine and we don't need to change
no one
anything.
wants to see that.
The way to make sure that we can provide
no one does.
is by focusing on security.
You say that sarcastically. No one wants to see that, okay? The Churchill of our age has spoken. I'm sure Churchill was also said boring, dumb stuff from time to time. We just remember the good bits.
True.
And not waiting until things happen and then being reactive.
Actually, I do enjoy
there's
a kind of weird brand of video on YouTube, which is quotes from Winston Churchill, literal audio like recordings of him, where you can't understand what the fuck he's saying. And there's loads of them, and he really was a very, especially later on when he was drinking quite a lot. Like he was, and you're like, this. You were in the fucking House of Commons, mate. What are you doing?
Probably drunk.
Yeah. But you can't. He's overtired. Please, that's very unparliamentary.
A lot of affinity with Ukraine, especially since the war. Most of us in the country know so much more about Ukraine now than we did in 5 years ago. But we have to make sure that we are staying resilient so we can continue to support them. We have to be strong so that we can help Ukraine.
Kemi Badenoch, thanks so much for coming in this morning on such an important day. It's great to have you with us. Thank you very much indeed. Well, of course, the relationship between our two countries has been very...
Presumably she, goes back to the desk job now or something?
Yeah, off tax and more websites, clearly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Strong, and the King has even invited President Zelenskyy to go and see him this afternoon. So a real show of affection will be extended to President Zelenskyy while he's here in London. Let's talk now to the leader of the Lib Dems, Sir Ed Davey, who joins us from southwest London.
Also, why is he outside?
Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Why is he outside? And why is Keir Starmer refusing to play one-on-one with him in FIFA?
Like they do this all the time. They just randomly have people doing interviews outside. I have no idea why. It's really strange.
It's so dumb. Like presumably he's next to a building. Go inside the building. It looks cold. He's got a coat on. This is not. Like, I understand when it's like beaming hot sunshine and you're on Parliament Square and you're like, okay, that seems like a cool thing, whatever. But like, why do they send a weather reporter to a hurricane? Yeah, we know it's windy and rainy and shit. It's a fucking hurricane, and that's dangerous. You've put your colleague in danger.
I've asked all the leaders this morning, but what did you think when you saw the scenes in the Oval Office on Friday?
I was shocked and appalled.
See, now I've got fucking tweeting in the
job
background.
With following on from President Macron
exactly,
in trying to reach out to Donald Trump, and then the President and Vice President are seemingly on a premeditated attack on, suggests that the President...
Yeah, this is the thing I was talking about, hang on. Well, I don't mind interrupting Ed Davey because I don't give a fuck what he has to say. Yeah.
No one does.
At any rate, that is what we're going to try to do.
What the fuck was that?
That is the result of His Majesty's government.
Amazing.
The hospital ships which brought off many thousands of British and French wounded.
Oh, exactly. Oh, I understood that one.
And we must expect another blow to be struck, almost immediately.
Gaps between words.
North of the Amiens-Abbeville Gap. I'll be led into an ignominious...
Sorry. There you go. See? He didn't come up with fucking zingers every time. Or maybe they were and we just couldn't understand them. It could have been some of the greatest poetry ever. Who knows?
It isn't as predictable and reliable as his predecessors.
You say our government should be standing up to bullies, suggesting the American president is one. Do you think the state visit for Donald Trump should be cancelled?
No, I don't. What we've said in the Liberal Democrats all along is that the state visit should be used to secure guarantees for Ukraine. As the Prime Minister...
I can see his breath. He's cold. Why have you got this old man stood outside? Like, I don't feel sorry for him, really, but it's just odd. It's just a peculiar thing to do.
Like you said, we need security guarantees in any peace deal. And although the Prime Minister seems confident that they would come, they're not there yet, as he had to admit to you. And therefore, I think we should use every single card that we have. And I think it should be made clear.
Well, we're not playing cards.
Yeah, no, you haven't got any cards. With us, you've got the cards. You're not even playing cards. Said the greatest orator of our age.
House, that the state visit would be a genuine one. We would welcome him here, but on condition that he steps up, that the US steps up to work with the UK and Europe to support and defend Ukraine.
See, that's the most Lib Dem shit answer. You either say, no, it's fine, he's a representative of the American people, and therefore short-term, temporary, blah, 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 long-term salute, you know, all that bollocks, right?
Yeah.
Or you say, no, fuck him, he doesn't deserve it, he's a piece of shit. Cut him off with the fucking dick, right? But they've gone, we should continue to invite them, but only if he does a kind of thing that we kind of like or something. Like the most limp dick shit ever. God, they're so fucking worthless.
Is it realistic, though, to imagine that the UK government could say that to any American president? And is that the right approach at a time of real peril like this, saying, look, you can only have tea with the king if you do what we ask you to? Is that realistic?
Well, it can be implicit in what we're saying. I mean, the Prime Minister, I think, is actually doing a good job in trying to bridge this extremely difficult relationship, having to deal with someone as unreliable, as unpredictable as President Trump. I actually feel for him, but I think he's managed to
you've got yapping
play
dogs.
His cards well. I was interested when he told you earlier today...
You didn't need to film him outside a fucking zoo.
That he's been on the phone and trying to bridge the gap that emerged in the Oval Office on Friday. And it looks like he and President Macron will be talking to President Zelenskyy about how a peace deal could work and then relaying that to President Trump. And I think as they do that, as they try to bring then President Trump towards Zelenskyy's position, I think they need to be clear that the security guarantees are needed and everything is on the table.
Would you support the notion of a coalition of the willing, as the Prime Minister described it, with UK and French troops being used to guard any peace deal that is done? Would you be happy to back that?
Yes, if there is a a credible peace deal, if there is a peace deal that Ukraine supports, I think that is actually what we should all do. Liberal Democrats have been arguing for some time about the need to work with our European neighbours more closely, whether it's...
Yes, we know. Every fucking time you just go, we should rejoin the EU. That's the answer to everything, ever. We know. We can fucking hear you. It's like an echo.
But it really is the boy who cried will rejoin the EU, because this now is the moment where it actually probably is a reasonable response to the question.
Yeah.
Rejoining the European Union, so there's more kind of a diplomatic points of unity in a more fractured world, right, where we can be stronger together than apart. Except no one's going to take it fucking seriously, because their answer to, I don't know, what was happening with fucking farmers was to rejoin the European Union.
Yeah. When he stubs his toe in the morning, he goes, "Oh, we should rejoin the EU."
Yeah.
You know, it's everything. So yeah, no one's going to take them seriously. Or what was it? The fucking Otto English melter came up with a new belter. What was it that with each moment, Farage and Brexit become more irrelevant? And you're like, how does Brexit become more irrelevant? We already Brexited. It still exists. Which means it becomes irrelevant. It's a fact. Oh God. I love all the quiet though. It's good.
On our economy or on our security, and I think recent developments have shown that that is absolutely the way to go. And it's not just about making sure we have that reassurance force with the British Army and the French Army and others there to secure that peace, but it's also about the longer term on defence spending. We've argued for a European rearmament bank so we can get the money into European...
Have they tried military skills wallets?
well, we can pay for extra military spending with the Remain bonus.
Yes, the Remain bonus, and then some PFIs probably as well.
Yeah.
PFI tanks.
Obviously British defence manufacturing, so we can increase our capabilities, because that's what's going to be needed in the long term. We can't rely, and unfortunately, as much as we have done on the United States, the Prime Minister's right to...
Oh my God, even the fucking Lib Dems are like, maybe the Atlanticist dream is dying. Even the Lib Dems. It's over. It's never been more Jova. By the way, is he dead yet? Is Biden dead? I think he is, isn't he?
I mean, I don't know if he can't die yet. I need him to go to trial in The Hague for crimes against humanity, and they can die in prison.
Yeah, good luck with that. Because The Hague is really good. Literally, The Hague, and indeed the Netherlands, in which it sits, is the one country on earth that America has pre-clearance. The president has pre-clearance to invade.
I mean, do you think Trump would, though? You know, I think of all of the presidents who would not invade...
Oh, for Biden. Oh, sorry. No, not for Biden.
Yeah,
no,
literally.
No.
I'm just like, you go, oh, well, I think the ICJ, they have no jurisdiction, the International Criminal Court as well. They're very, very bad. They hate America, but they don't like Joe Biden. So I will give them Joe Biden, and hopefully they will leave us alone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll trade you one Netanyahu for a Biden. Is literally, he would do that fucking deal. 100%.
Yeah. Measure that relationship. We've always supported the special relationship, but I think everybody can see that that's under strain, and with President Trump so unreliable, we've got to make sure that we have alternatives.
Ed Davey, thank you so much for joining us on this important day. It's
Why
great
did
to
he
have
appear?
you with us.
Thank you.
Even though you weren't joining us in the
pointless.
studio, but it's good to have you with us on the programme. Now then, it is
they're not going to let him in the studio because the pink eye. Everyone will catch it.
Nearly 10 o'clock on this momentous day as European leaders are arriving in London to work out the next moves to help protect Ukraine after the brutal bust-up between its president and the President of the United States in the Oval Office. The Prime Minister here is hosting the talks, and he told us he wants to put together a coalition of the willing to protect the war-torn country.
Churchill was the world's first mumble rapper.
The United Kingdom...
Do we need to watch a recap?
Along with...
Not really. Did they go back to these melters? Do you want to...
I mean, I'm not particularly fussed in hearing what Piers Morgan has to say, but...
Yeah, okay, we can leave it if you want. I don't mind.
Yeah, it's 1:45 a.m. now.
We've been going for nearly 4 hours, yeah. Good God.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shattered. Do you want to raid into Mooncat?
Yeah, we can do that. I'll have to look on the YouTube to see who's around.
Yeah. Also, everybody, again, please go and follow Kevin. That's KevLogan1875 over on Twitch, and go to Kev's PayPal. I said Kev's been through the ringer this week, so I highly would recommend you going and shooting Kev some dollar bills.
It's been a rough one, but yeah, only if you can afford it. Okay, don't fucking kill yourselves. Either figuratively or literally, of course. Yes. Do we got Mooncat? Was it okay? Moon. Yes, and I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Don't know what with. Something. I don't know if I'm gonna.
I'll be back tomorrow as well.
Yeah, go and check out No Justice MTG on all of the platforms.
Indeed, absolutely, and Kevin on all the platforms as well. And take care and stay safe, and of course,
free Palestine, mother flippers.
From the river to sea.
Ta-da.
See you later. Bye bye.